We good?
Let's see. I believe so. I can see your screen and all that, but I don't know if it's recording.
Back in February, I actually took all the credit notes that you all shared with applied them. My score jumped up 200 points within
you mute yourself.
Yeah, I hear that.
Come on, you good?
Yes, ma'am. So you might well mute your laptop.
You said mute my laptop?
Yeah.
All right.
Or mute your mic, my bad.
How the fuck do I do that?
Oh,
you mean from Telegram?
Yeah. Mute your mic on Telegram, yes, ma'am.
All right. If anybody ever gonna probably listen, they're gonna be like, they fucking this shit ghetto.
Look at these rookies.
Trying to figure it out.
Yeah, cause I know you're getting ready and whatnot.
Mute my mic.
It should be on the bottom.
Let me see.
Like the green button with a mic on it. Perfect. I can't hear it.
All right. Cool. That's cool.
That's crazy.
Back in February, I actually took all the credit notes that you all shared with us, applied them. My score jumped up 200 points within 2 weeks.
Yeah, I hear that.
Finally hit the 700 club for the first time ever in my life. And then turned around, out of celebration, applied for the Apple Card with Barclays. Actually, I take that back, with Goldman Sachs. Received it and everything, and then requested my first paper statement. I endorsed it, put everything that I needed on it, sent it to the to the indentured trustee. I believe it's Dennis P. Coleman III is what it says on the AK form. And after I followed up with them about a week ago, and when I called them, they basically said, yeah, we received it and everything. And I got in contact with them. I called the actual number on the AK form. I just straight called the Office of Executive Principals and said, yeah, I sent you a registered security. I haven't heard anything back. It's not reflecting my account at all. And, the secretary was like, oh, yeah, we actually received it. We sent it off to the processing facility that it needs to go to, and you should be receiving a call from them within the next week or so to basically rectify that matter. And I got a call yesterday, but I was occupied at the time, so I missed it and got a voicemail. Called her back, and she said it's getting taken care of this week. So, like I said, I'm about to completely discharge a $6,500 credit card bill. I've been able to use that to further invest into my education with, like I said, getting the stamps, sending off registered mail, other things. And I'm just excited. I'm forever grateful for the both of you.
Well, I am very happy for you, Chauncey. I want to elaborate on a particular word that you just said. So when you talked to them, you told them that you sent them a registered what?
Security.
A registered security. See, when you guys are talking with these different corporations, you have to know their terminology. People who have been with me for a minute, they know my basis is foundation. You have to have foundation, because I can't be on the call with you. Caleb can't be on the call with you. The only thing we can do is provide you with the proper, correct information. And then you are to do your own due diligence, and then you are to act accordingly. I'm very proud of you, Chauncey. As y'all hear, he got his credit score up 200 plus points. He got a car taken care of. And y'all hear him talk about this stamp. It's not AVR, accepted for value stamp. It's not none of these paid to the bearer stamps that these people are giving you guys. It is none of that. We are actually using their terminology, their wording, which they can't refute. We're using their things in order to be able to combat. Okay. Before Caleb gets started today, of course, I'm here and I'll chime in when need to. For you guys who were in my arbitration class and y'all filing these arbitration cases and don't know what you're doing, you're clogging up the arbitration system, period. The system is being clogged up because you guys are filing arbitration cases trying to use consumer law, and it's not going to work. You cannot do an arbitration case as a billing error. Now, are you able to use the consumer rights in which it is that we all have as extra? But everything is securities fraud. Everything is equity. So you have to understand equity. You can't say that the United States is responsible for my bills because honestly, they're paying them. You just signed off saying that you will repay them too. But you do have to understand security. You do have to understand equity if you want to get the proper remedy. What T-Mobile may do, AT&T may not. But one thing they cannot refute is this wonderful stamp that came out of their books. It tells us exactly how to stamp it, the dimensions of the stamp. Y'all see he put it up. That stamp right there is the stamp that you are supposed to use. We will go over that stamp this evening. We will even tell you where to find the stamp for you to use it. And as you heard him say, he didn't send it to the CEO. He didn't send it to the CFO. He sent it to the trustee. Why did he send it to the indentured trustee? They're dealing in our trust. Everything is about trust. And the indentured trustee is for trust. The indentured trustee and the trustee, they are banks. It's going to always be a bank. They're going to have a representative over there. He did the work. No, he didn't inbox me and ask me for the AK form. He went and he found it. Sometimes they are not easy to find, but you have to still do your own due diligence. I'm very proud of you, Chauncey. And there are several others that has been with me that is getting the same type of remedy. So when y'all come to us talking about it didn't work, you didn't work. It wasn't us.
Can I just chime in one last thing, Ms. Tamika?
Absolutely.
When she actually told me, I had completely forgotten the date that I actually sent it out. And she was like, no, we received it on the 22nd of February. You know, we processed it the same day. We sent it to we forwarded it to the facility that handles that matter. She was like, do you actually have another one that you need to take care of? And I was, in my head, I'm like, damn, she asked for the security. She didn't rebuke it or say, I don't know what you're talking about or anything like that. She knew exactly what I was talking about. Say, yeah, we received it. You know, the reason why it didn't say delivered on regards to the mail is because it gets sent to a separate facility where they screen it for security to make sure nothing frivolous or, you know, anything with ill intent is getting sent to them. And she didn't deny any claim. She told me my full name, and I was just in shock. So, like I said, this remedy works. You definitely just have to do your due diligence. You know, read the indentured, the Trust Indentured Act, read the Securities Exchange Act, read the Securities Act. And once you know that terminology, they can't play this game against you anymore. But if you don't know the rules to the game, you're going to keep getting played.
That's the best way to say it. You're going to keep getting played, or you're going to get repoed, or your license is going to get cut off, or your gas is going to get cut off. You know, and it's not on us.
He didn't just do the Apple Card for $6,500.
Oh,
he also did his phone bill.
I got another one. I reached out to AT&T. At first, I put it in a billing error, and they credited my entire account for $536. And then the legal department reached out to me and said, yes, if you need to handle this matter any further, this is who you need to contact. And now I just have a direct point of contact to take care of my AT&T bill.
And that's because he knew what he was talking about. As far as a billing error, it's on the back of every last one of your bills. It tells you that if you have an issue, it's a billing error, and it tells you where to send it. It tells you where to send it. Tonight, we're going to show you guys several different ways to be able to discharge. The stamp is the ultimate. Arbitration is the killer. Everything else is a temporary fix. It's a Band-Aid. Will it work? It has. Does it work? It do. But it also depends on the company that you are dealing with. But if you do it according to the way that the UCC is written, they can't refute that. There is a video that is on my YouTube page. I dropped it yesterday. You guys might want to go listen to it. There's a key part in that video that it says that if one or two, I guess I'm a part of the one and Caleb is the two, people are ever to understand and figure out their system, that they have enough in their arsenal to combat. So affidavits that use the work don't work any longer. Accepted for value does not work any longer. Did it work? Yes. The W-4 sandwich, that stopped working at the beginning of the year of last year when so many people began to do it. The thing is, when so many people get to doing the same process, why y'all want templates? Your template look like her template, look like his template. They already going to know what to do with it. I tell you guys all the time, and for you guys that are new with me, template, when you break it down, it is temple, you the temple. You have to create your own process using their rules. And as you see, it works. But we will show you guys the different ones before Caleb gets started. For all of you who see my YouTube video, discharge that shit. And I spoke about the 1099A and the 1099C. And yes, I at that time said do not use the 1099A. There was a reason for that, because it was not mastered. I'm not going to tell you guys to do anything that I would not do myself or that I know do not work at that time. When it comes to the 1099A, the 1099A can that's your light bill, your gas bill, your water bill, your car note. The 1099C is to be used for debts that are over the age of 3 years and they have not tried to collect in a year. So that's basically all the stuff that's in collections that's on your credit report. Okay. We will walk you guys through how to properly do the 1099A and to do the C, because how you put your name in makes the difference. Making sure that you have the proper contact information for the person makes a difference. But don't do a 1099C and it's for your light bill. Now you're canceling out the debt when all they filed was a 1099A, and that is what you are to use. So that is one of the updates that changed from when I did that video. That video was done in, I believe, April of 2022. And y'all see how the system changed that quickly with what we can do and what we can't do, because the most solid thing that works without it ever changing is that step, as well as taking them to arbitration, as your contract says. Arbitration is equity in law. So you're using securities are equity. Hopefully you guys all know what a security is. And then you're going to back that up with the UCC laws. You'll back it up, and then you will slam dunk it with the consumer rights. But don't try to do no arbitration based off of consumer laws on its own. You're going to lose. And unfortunately, if you take them to arbitration and you lose, you cannot appeal that. At that point, you have to go through the security exchange and the comptroller, the currency comptroller. And if you couldn't get past arbitration, you definitely not going to send them anything that's going to make them want to audit the account. Okay? So, Caleb, I'll check and see if anybody else registered since we got started so that I can let them in. But Caleb, you good to go? And I'll mute myself.
Absolutely. And it's always important to understand that having a foundation and understanding what you're doing and why you're doing it is always better than just doing it. So write this down if you got your pen. UCC 3-603, right? We've been talking about the Uniform Commercial Code because that's international law of commerce. That applies not just here, but all over the world. And you have to understand UCC 3-603 is tender of payment. If tender of payment of an obligation to pay an instrument is made to a person entitled to enforce the instrument and the tender is refused, there is discharge to the extent of the amount of the tender of the obligation of an endorser or accommodation party having a right of recourse with respect to the obligation to which the tender relates. So according to the Uniform Commercial Code, Article 3, Section 6, subsection 3 of that. If you send somebody a payment and they go into default, right? Because you, in good faith, with clean hands, sent them an instrument in order to set off a debt, discharge a debt, right? Because there's no such thing as paying a bill. You cannot pay a bill. Only the president can write a bill. You cannot pay a bill. You can discharge a debt. And the thing is, you're not going to pay a debt with another debt. You see how that works? So there's all types of problems that come along with using Federal Reserve notes, which are debt notes, which are promises to pay. You cannot use those because they are debts. How is one debt taking care of another? It don't make no sense. But the very next code, UCC 3-604, discharge by cancellation or renunciation. A person entitled to enforce an instrument with or without consideration may discharge the obligation of a party to pay the instrument by an intentional voluntary act. So if they do any of these acts, UCC 3604, this is also discharge of the payment. So surrender of the instrument to the party. So if they send it back to you, right, if they refuse your payment, it's discharge. That's one. Destruction, mutilation, or cancellation of the instrument. I mean, that's self-explanatory. Cancellation or striking out the party signature or addition of the words of the instrument indicating discharge. So cancellation, striking it out, destroying this security. Basically, anything that they do with your payment but process it means that you do not owe them. You see what I'm saying? So that's the first thing that I want to put in your head, is that it is at the discretion of the companies what they're going to do and process these payments, right? Because it's all fraud. So to the degree to which they're going to comply is going to depend, right? Because American Express, you cannot discharge the same way with American Express as you can Capital One. I mean, you could try, but you're going to run into issues, right? Because every company is different. They're all operating differently. But if you understand that at the end of the day, no matter what you do, if you send a payment and they refuse, they send it back, destroy it, you have discharge, you are building a case for non-compliance, right? We hope, and it's always the hope that you're going to be able to get your remedy the first time. And if you have a solid foundation and you study and you know the language, then you'll have an easier time doing that. But if not, you are building a case for non-compliance, and having a solid understanding of why and what exactly it means is going to be the best thing you can do. So now we're going to move on, right? Because the first thing I want to talk about is the stamp method, right? Stamping your bills, the remittance that you get every month. 31 CFR.
Hold on 1 second, nephew. I couldn't unmute myself. So he made a reference between Capital One and American Express. I'm not sure if she's in here, but the stamp that Chauncey said he used has worked on American Express. Okay, they are canceling out her debt every single month. But I will tell you that if it is Capital One, I don't care what you stamp and I don't care what you say. Capital One is going to send you a letter saying that you violated one of their terms and they are going to close your account. Capital One is going to close your account. You send them an affidavit, you send them a remittance, you send them anything, they're going to close it. So when it comes to Capital One does have an arbitration agreement within their terms and conditions. It is in the very first documents in which it is that they gave you, which probably no one asked. But it is definitely on their website. As long as you can prove you have an account with them, that you're up under that arbitration clause, the only way you're going to beat Capital One, whether it's a credit card, whether it's a finance with a card with Capital One, you are going to have to take them to arbitration. But American Express is a little bit different. Now we know that Apple is the same way, but their indentured trustee is Goldman Sachs. Okay, so like you said, depending on the company, it will depend on what they decide to do with it. And I'm telling y'all now, I've said it a million times, Capital One is going to shut you down, take them straight to arbitration. The good thing about taking them straight to arbitration, there will be no adverse action done. It actually puts your bill in a do not pay, do not collect status immediately. Even if you were to try to pay them, they will deny your payment. Okay, your card will stay on. That open-ended credit that everybody wants, based off of what the law says, the only way you're going to get that, I don't care what credit card company it is, you're going to have to do it through arbitration because they're going to make you sign an NDA so that you can't run back and tell the next person that this is what it is that you're supposed to do. Okay? I'll put the step up for you while you go through that part, Kayla.
Absolutely. Right. And in regards to, hold on, let me think here, because I wanted to piggyback off of what you just said. It's okay, it'll come back to me. So 31 CFR 328.5 and 328.6, forms of endorsement. This is from Title 31, which is money and finance. Under the regulations relating to money and finance, under the Fiscal Service, Department of the Treasury, and the specific subsection 328 is restrictive endorsements of U.S. bearer securities, right? We are using their words. Federal law is the standard, right? So this is what has been signed into the Federal Register by the president for how you are supposed to properly endorse your security. And what it tells you on 328.6 is this: the endorsement must be imprinted on the left-hand portion of the face of each security with the first line parallel to the left edge of the security and in such a manner as to be clearly legible and in such a position that it will not obscure the serial number. So basically, when you're taking a look at your statement, generally on the top left side, you're going to see somewhere on that left edge, right, anywhere parallel to the left edge, you're going to see a spot that's going to be about the perfect size for this stamp, which is 4.5 inches in width and 1.5 inches in height. And you're going to want to stamp it on there, right? So that's where it tells you that is where it's supposed to go on the face of it, not the actual coupon on the bottom, but the actual bond on top, because that's where you're stamping, right? Now, the dimensions of the endorsement should be, and this is what everyone needs to pay attention to, approximately 4.5 inches in width and 1.5 inches in height. So when it says approximately, that means it can be a little less, a little more. It doesn't have to be exactly that. And a lot of times you'll actually find, if you're trying to have a stamp made like through Office Depot or something like that, or even trying to get one made on Amazon, that they won't have 4 inches. They'll have like 3 inches and 15/16 by 2, right? So it's like that's approximately the same thing as that. So when you are making the stamp, that's the dimensions that it's going to want to be. Now, it tells you, go ahead.
Before you finish that. So you see how we said that you take the top portion of the bill. Do anybody got a bill in front of them? Anybody that has the entire bill? If you look at the bottom where it says tear off and return with your payment, it'll make you think it's talking about the bottom. How many of you guys missed the arrow that pointed up? That's how they play with us. So you will think because the perforated part is at the bottom, it says at the very bottom, tear off and return with your payment, you'll think that they're talking about the bottom portion. So let's explain the difference in the bill. Everybody, and even other people I've seen teaching this, they tell you to tear up the bottom and write all these darn codes on there. And no, the bottom part is a dividend check. Okay? That is a statement. Nothing on there says that it is a bill at all. It says a statement. Okay? The top part is the bond. The top portion is what is worth the value, which is why you stamp it at the very top, the left-hand side of the document. The bottom stub that they gave you is nothing but telling you how much interest they gained from that account that ran through the TDA to turn it into a security. All coupons are matured every 4 weeks. How often do you guys get that statement in the mail? Every 4 weeks, right? So when you do this properly, that bottom number that everyone say is a credit because it is, due to the Electronic Funds Transfer Act, is actually supposed to be transferred into the principal account, which is your account. They are to take the top portion that you stamp, they send it to the federal government through the TDA to turn it into a security, and their payment comes from them now selling that security. Okay? Don't leave the bottom portion on there. You can, but make sure that the top portion is there and that you put the stamp on the left-hand side. We gave this information out to a class earlier this year, or it was last year. With this, we did have a particular company that was making the stamp for us, and then they were mandated, is the word that they gave me, that they were no longer able to make that stamp any longer. Somebody mandated them. We know who mandated them not to make the stamp. Okay, but we do have another company, and we figured out another way where you guys will be able to have access to this stamp, because everything is done electronically anyway, where you guys will have access to the stamp to be able to utilize it on your bill. If your bill is on, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, like a few days after I had purchased the stamp, you couldn't get it anymore. Like the model that I got, it was scrubbed off the internet. So I just wanted to add that in, because they don't, like, I'm telling you, that's all I got to say.
Yeah, because that's the proper way. And as you guys see it, if you were to go to 328.5, they actually put these words in a blue box. But and they did that using the word Federal Reserve Bank, because they know that people were not going to read no further. They were only going to use what was in a blue box. When you actually had to make sure, because we don't have access to the Federal Reserve Bank, only the security transfer agents, our banks, have that access. So we are to put the United States Treasury. You see, it said in lieu of the words Federal Reserve Bank, yours will say United States Treasury, physical agent of the United States, where it has the bank name in that slot. You don't have to put the bank's name there. The bank will do that. The only thing you are to do is to stamp it and to send it to the correct address. It does not go to the P.O. box. American Express says on the back of their bill, other instruments send to this address. So it's going to take you guys to read a little bit, but when I say, to tell you guys, if they tell us everything, you're just not reading, or you're not understanding what it is that you're reading. But it does not go to a P.O. box. But you can never go wrong with sending it to the indentured trustee or the trustee. And why? Is because their signature is on the security exchange document. They are the one that made a plan to make sure that the securities are handled properly. The CEO is the title. He's not going to get in trouble. The CFO is not going to get in trouble. It will be the indentured trustee or the trustee, which is the bank. And if they get too many dings with the security exchange, they will now lose the ability to transfer security. So do you think they're going to lose that for a couple of people who figured out how the system worked? No, they're going to comply with you. Okay, you go ahead.
Yep. So I was actually going to say that, hold on, let me think here. What were you just saying, Auntie?
About the, did I mute myself? What you want to step and the coupon, the top part?
I was going to say, here it is. In every single indenture agreement made between the company and their indenture trustee, in Section 6, there's literally a section labeled discharge in that indenture agreement that talks about how it is the responsibility of the indenture trustee to discharge all of the securities that come through that company, right? So this is when we tell you to go look at these 8K forms and 10K forms in order to be able to find the trustee. If you look at the specific indenture agreement that they're signed on, where you find the name over the account, you'll see the section in there that's labeled discharge. So you can highlight that. You see what I'm saying? Just in case they want to act like they don't remember what their duties are. You see what I'm saying? Hold them accountable to their words. It's not enough to just know, like, okay, you as the trustee are supposed to discharge my debts, because they could say, well, I'm playing dumb and I don't know that I'm supposed to do that. So you've got to give them a reminder, because they can't rebut their own words. I'd say, well, this is your signature here, right? And that means that you read this, right? And you understood it. I would hope so. As someone in your position. Now, when it comes to that stamp, 31 CFR 328.5, it tells you exactly what it's supposed to say. Now, if you only read this one and went no further, you would make a stamp that says, for presentation to the Federal Reserve Bank of blank, right? One of the districts of the banks that they have, fiscal agent of the United States for redemption or in exchange for securities of a new issue in accordance with written instructions submitted by, and then it says insert name of presenting bank. But what it tells you on the very next one is that when securities are presented to the Bureau,
just getting good.
the security. So if you do not have the proper endorsement, this is why people aren't getting remedied with accepted for value with just putting all those UCC codes and doing all of that nonsense that they have you do, because that's not what you're supposed to do. It tells you what you're supposed to do. And it also tells you that they won't accept anything else but them. Right? So that's one way that, go ahead.
So to show you guys how they play. So this is 328.5. This is forms of endorsement, okay? You see how they took this and put it in a blue box? Because they know, first of all, they use colors. It's like having candy at the end cap at a store. They know your kids is going to see it. You stand in line, they're going to want it. It's the colors, okay? They know people are not going to read the entire thing. So they're just going to come here. And they're going to see what's in the blue box. And then they're going to make the step that says this, okay? Now, what they're doing is also book entry securities as well, depending on the type of debt that it is. But what we're talking about is because we know that this next button means that we need to keep going. So now when you go to where they physically tell us how to endorse it, do y'all notice that they put it in no blue box? They put it around all these words. This is where we got the 4 inches by 1.5 inches height. And this is where we got when securities are to be presented to the Bureau of Physical Services. If you did not know, the Bureau of Physical Services is for the public debt. That is for our debt. That you are to use the words United States Treasury should be used in lieu of the words Federal Reserve Bank. Did you notice they didn't even finish writing the whole statement out? Because they know that people don't read. Which is why we're in this mess anyway. It's because you didn't read. Your car contract, you gave them permission to do everything they're doing. Everything, including keeping your proceeds. If you look where it says you gave them security interest, everybody say your insurance was covered. It was. But if you read that part, you gave them permission to keep the money off of the insurance, the liability insurance, the credit life insurance. And when it says all proceeds, we know that they are transferring the contract. Every time that they transfer the contract, they get paid. But you told them that they had the right to transfer it. You didn't put a limit on how many times they could transfer it. You never told them that they couldn't do it. So when you are battling these companies talking about fraud, you gave them permission to do it, which is why doing a rescission does not work. You're rescinding a contract, which means now when you rescind the entire contract, they can come and take the merchandise. They can come and take the security because now you have reneged on the contract itself. So that's why using the proper terminology, it makes a difference. We're winning because we know how to talk like the bank. You're supposed to talk like them to the point where they don't know if you're a banker. They don't know if you're from a security exchange. All they know is that you're using words, securities and registered securities and proper endorsements. They know that you're using those words because that's all that they know. Corporations can't speak. All they know is policy. All they know is their policy. And all they know is their words. Okay? So when you're looking up... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, you ever been at a job and somebody from way higher up comes in and, you know, but you don't know they're way higher up. And, you know, they test you and you don't pass. And then they give your boss a call. See, that's basically what it is. They don't know who you are. but they are scared, and they should be scared because they know that they're doing a whole lot of things they shouldn't be doing. You give them permission. I've seen this in a contract to allow the car companies to go to any means allowed within the law to repossess your vehicle. This is why they're coming, busting your windows out in the middle of the night, because you told them they could do it. And what you have to understand is that no government agency, the government cannot pass any law impairing the obligation of contracts. It may be unlawful what these people are doing, but if you agree to it, and this is under contract law. You see what I'm saying? Private. Contract law is private. The government can't stick their hands in it. So if you want to agree to an unconscionable contract, the government is going to be, they're not mandated to enforce that contract, right? But the thing is, they can't stop you from agreeing to it. Because one of the major things about contract law is having the capacity to contract. Now, how many of us read our contracts? How many of us just sign because they say, sign here, this is what you do? We get in trouble believing that these people are operating
I'm here.
in hands when they're not. You do not know what you're agreeing to. It could say in that contract, every Wednesday at noon, we're allowed to come in your house and slap you. And every Wednesday at noon, when they come in your house and slap you, you're going to be wondering what's going on. And you would never even know. This is why contract law and understanding it are so important.
It's just like the UCC. There's a federal level to the UCC, and there's a state level to the UCC. So I don't know how many of you guys know that, well, everyone should know that they're trying to switch the currency system over to all digital, okay? Well, we got some states like Texas who ain't buying it. And then we have Florida. So if you've seen whatever it is, the governor name of Florida is, he did a live on the news saying that his state and any other state that is willing to make sure that they write in the UCC code for their state that they will not accept any digital currency. Okay? He said all tangible funds. But wait a minute. That's a very powerful statement if you understand what the value of the UCC. Because now he said everybody change your UCC on the state level because every state just has a contract with the United States. Okay? Texas and Florida's contract is not as extensive as Michigan and North Carolina. Like they went all in, like, we're going to kiss your butt and do what you want. Texas and Florida did not. But if you go pull your state UCC, it says that the state cannot demand just one form of payment. So if the UCC is strong enough for them to say that we are not going to accept central currency and that we're going to back our own money by gold and silver because cash is king, is what they're saying. Don't you think that you can use that same UCC to say, wait, the UCC says that the state can't make one species of money? Just like if you are with a company and every last bank is about to do this, they're all going to go over to the digital side. But if you read your mortgage contract, if you read your car contract, it said you are to give them cash. When the cash is gone, that means that the contract is now void. How can you pay them? You can't. Think about it, right? Start taking these people's words and using them. I'm telling you, this is how I win. This is how I'm going to keep winning. And for those that listen to me, they're going to continue to win because we literally take their words, their policies, their rules, and we put it in their face, and now we're living different. They forced to comply with their own words. So that's just a little input on the importance of the UCC. The UCC, even when it comes to consumer, yes, you got the Uniform Commercial Code, but then you also have the Uniform Consumer Credit Code, UCCC, 3 Cs. It talks about everything in there, your car contracts. It literally tells them what they're supposed to do. And then Section 6 of every security agreement says that they agree in order to be in the position that they are, in order to get authorization from the Security Exchange to act with securities that they will discharge your debts. Go, like he said, go pull it. highlight it, and send it to them. They just got amnesia real quick. Make them remember. You good, nephew?
And what I was going to say, the other thing to understand is that as much, every single state in the union is a sovereign and independent nation. That's why there's 50 different sets of laws for all the states. And again, there's a federal standard. Generally, the federal standard is going to be superior if it conflicts with certain state provisions that don't provide as much protection. But your state has its own uniform commercial code. Now, the UCC that you're reading, on Law Cornell is generally what is adopted by most states, but they all have their own unique provisions. Every state has its own fair debt collection practices, right? So understanding your state law as well as the federal law on these things is going to help you, because for things like collections, right, you're sending out, trying to get that off your report. Well, in your state, the collection laws might be different, right? And you might have better protection than federally. So that's also another important thing that you're going to want to read.
And to piggyback off of him saying collections and state. So you know how they tell us that a debt can stay on your credit report for 7 years? Or what if I told you that the majority of these states, they cannot collect on the debt after 3 years? So when you guys are doing CFPB complaints, yes, you want the federal law in there, but your state law will hold more weight. If they cannot collect on the debt after 3 years, now it didn't say a past due debt, it said debt, period, debts. That could be a current debt, that could be an old debt. So if I was you, I would pull the state. Most of them are 3 years. I believe Michigan is 5 years. Some of them are 6 years, but pull that. And if it applies to you, then absolutely utilize it. Go ahead, Nephew.
Now, so just to sum up the coupon remittance process, get your stamp the bond, send it, turn it on the back. I would sign it with your beneficiary signature. Everyone in this class should know what that is. And put your stamps on there to pay the taxes according to the value of the security that you are sending. If you would like to know how much stamps you need to put on each security, stamp duties 1863, write it down, look it up. You can find a PDF of it on WorldCat. 1863, United States stamp duties. You'll know it when you see it. There's a section in there that tells you when you're sending money, if it's over this much, in between this much, this is how much stamps you have to put on there to cancel it out. Send it to the trustee, indentured trustee. Now, you can call the company and see if they have a special payment address like American Express or other securities. If they have a special payment address, send it there. Generally, you're not going to want to send it to a PO box because they're going to be doing lockbox funding, and it's not going to do what you want. They got a scanner. The checks go there and they scan it. Boom, it's done. There's nobody really processing the payments. So that is the summary of the coupon process. Find the trustee, send it to them. Understand why you're sending it to them, right? I always say, send a cover letter, right? With anything that you're sending. Give an explanation of what it is. It doesn't need, if it's more than a page, you're doing too much. Nobody wants to read a 20-page document on why they need to be accepting what you just sent them. No, just a little page. I'm sending my security. Please process it for payment. I'm going to be sending this from now on. Here's the laws, right? Send it off. That is the summary of the coupon process. And if you don't hear anything, it's on you to follow up with the company. If it's been a week, call them and ask them if they've received it, right? Follow up, do your diligence to make sure. If they apply your payment, congratulations. If they don't, understand that now, because one, they either need to send you back your security or it's discharged, right? Or if they refuse to accept it, it's discharged, and then going from there, whether it be arbitration, whether it be submitting it into a billing error status, right? Because after you send them a payment coupon and they're not taking it, well, then there's room for error, I would say. But the billing error process is entirely separate on its own. But if it does not go how you want it to the first time, you're building a case for noncompliance. And if you have the foundation, then you'll understand what your next steps are, including notice of default and opportunity to cure, which is basically putting them on notice, right? You have to give notice. to all parties. In the Uniform Commercial Code, it tells you what notice is in Article 1. And when notice is given, if it is sent to an address where they normally receive such correspondences, it can be assumed that they have reasonably received it. So you're going to send a notice of default, basically saying, hey, look, I sent you a payment. You did not process this payment, accept this payment. Here are your options, right? You can either send it back to me, which will constitute discharge of the debt. You can discharge the debt by destroying it. Or if you want to not accept it, then I'm going to have to continue on, right? So then if they do not respond to your notice of default, then you can give them that opportunity to cure. Then that's going to be the third time. You're going to want to give them 3 different times. And then that's when you have sufficient proof, I would say, to then take action, whether it be going to arbitration, right? Hey, I sent them this security. They refused my security, did not discharge the debt. I gave them notice of default, no response. I gave them an opportunity to cure, still nothing. Now I'm bringing it to arbitration because I have a dispute for securities fraud. Not only for the fact that I sent them a payment, but for the fact that I was robbed from the beginning. So that is going to be not only how to send it, but your next couple steps. Notice of default, opportunity to cure. If this is the first time you're hearing those words, I would research what that is and get a better understanding of what that is so that you know how to write one up yourself and how to send it.
And just to add a little bit more to that, this TDA account, let's talk about this account that all y'all are running out to go get and ain't read nothing on their website. And we already told you guys that the top part is the bottom part is your payment, okay? It is a record of what they owe you on a monthly basis based off of the interest on the account. So when you're writing that beautiful cover letter, if you do have your TDA account set up, because only outside of us being able to buy securities, you can buy securities off of the TDA. You're only allowed to transfer $100 at a time. I said it in Discharge That Shit 1. I'm going to say it again. People heard what they wanted to hear. You have to go through the bank in order for them to transfer that coupon into your account. So when you're writing your cover letter and you sent them the top portion and you stamped it, I will put in there per the Electronic Funds Transfer Act to remit my dividends, my interest, coupon dividends to this account every month. And that is when you give them your TDA information. We do not have permission, but to a certain level, to deal with the TDA. They put a middleman in place. It is called a security transfer agent, AKA what we all know is the bank, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Capital One.
Security.
It's the bank. It's the middleman.
The Securities Transfer Act, for anyone who's wondering. It straight up tells you that banks are securities transfer agents. That is written word for word in that act.
So that is how you get your payment back, the amount, the coupon that the statement that they're sending you every single month. But because of the way that the account was set up, you're constantly sending a payment, which is ultimately why the debt ceiling is rising, because we are dealing with debt notes, but we're not coming back to claim them. All of that, I think, is what, 14 trillion? Well, it's more than that. Whatever the debt ceiling is, that is all money that belongs to we the people. The reason that we're enemies of the state is because we're steady spending debt notes. That little red number we all got a set of those red numbers that is on the dollar bills. And one of them belongs to each one of us. Okay? So it's going to the account that way. But you're constantly sending and sending and sending, but you're not coming back to recoup.
You're not balancing the books.
You're not.
This is why they say we're
balancing the books. So that's where the Electronic Funds Transfer Act come in, because they do everything electronically now. So they are electronically sending that coupon and keeping your dividends, and you're not going to claim them. Because all of these companies are considered foreign limited liability companies. If you read the Security Exchange page and the act, it'll tell you that foreign companies do not have to report their securities. This is why they're getting away with this, because they do not have to report it. Now, one of us decide that we want to whistleblow on them. It's on there, but you can't go in there talking about no 15 USC 1692. It's not going to work. If you want them to
2008 banking crisis. What do you think that was a result of? Somebody who went and told, and the government came down with that big stick.
Exactly what it is. So that's put that in your cover letter. That per the Electronic Funds Transfer Act. That is the terminology to use. And if I was you, I would go pull up the Electronic Funds Transfer Act. It tells you a lot in there, an awful lot.
15 United States Code 1693. Okay, Electronic Funds Transfer. As a matter of fact, all of the 15 United States Code Chapter 41, which is Consumer Credit Protection, that is truth in lending, restrictions on garnishment, credit reporting activities, equal credit opportunity, debt collection practices, and electronic funds transfer. Because all of those acts relate to your consumer rights and relate to your protection as a consumer from the predatoriness of these companies. What you have to understand is that these laws were enacted, these regulations were enacted because in the early days of these companies, they was ripping people off to kingdom come. And if you believe that these acts have stopped them from doing that, you're out of your mind. They just, it's a semblance. It has to appear like they have something that they're supposed to follow. But I would read the entire thing, Chapter 41, all of those acts.
Like, for example, if anybody ever had an issue where your bank account was compromised, I ain't talking about friendly fraud, and that is the exact title, but you got a service, and then you decide that you want to do a chargeback. I ain't talking about that. But I'm talking about that somebody actually, you got fraud on your account, and then the bank tell you, oh, you can't get that back. Zelle is good for it. Oh, you Zelle that you can't get it back, right? So, Electronic Funds Transfer Act states that as long as you report it within 60 days, your bank cannot hold you liable for nothing but $50. Is in the EFTA Act. So if somebody charged their car $800, your bank like, oh, we're not giving it back. Use that law right there under the Electronic Funds Transfer Act. State as long as I report it to you within 60 days, you can't hold me liable for no more than $50. And once again, I'm not talking about the friendly fraud that, people like to do. Y'all get people service to then try to charge back. I ain't talking about that. Because that is called friendly fraud, which you guys can, get in trouble for if they find out that you just did it because of whatever the case may be. You guys have to use these acts against them. That's how they are depositing your coupon statements, your dividends, by using the EFTA. So now use that to your advantage. But they cannot deposit that into a regular bank account, for you're considered a minor, which is why you open the TDA account for them to start depositing your securities the proper way. No, it's not walking into the bank. I don't know how many of y'all inboxed me. I walked into the bank and they didn't know. Did I say walk into a bank? That's not what I said. I said you have to use the bank. But did you do your own due diligence to see why? We are only here to give you the real information that actually works, but you have to do the work. You got to do it. Like, y'all wouldn't believe the inboxes that I get. And just stop, please, because at this point I'm gonna stop answering. But that is what it's for. So abreast yourself with the Electronic Funds Transfer Act. Go pull their security agreement. Go read. Yes, they are long, okay? But what else do you got? Put it on the word and make it read out loud to you. I don't know. But if you want them to act accordingly, it is by using what they said that they will do. They put it on paper. And they have to abide by it. The difference in doing a complaint with the CFPB and doing one with the comptroller and the SEC, somebody gonna go to jail because it's securities fraud. And if you whistleblow on that company, they give you 10% of what the company is worth. So do you think they're gonna comply with you real quick? As long as you keep talking about some 15 USC 1692, they gonna keep laughing at you. If you get to talk about securities fraud, man. They see social media. You don't think they put some of these plints out here to deter you to the left when you should really be to the right? I was there at one point in time too. When I first started, the difference is I kept going. I didn't stop at 1692. I wanted to know where the money was. Okay, I like the money. Where's the money? You owe it to me, so I need to figure out how I'm supposed to get it.
counterintelligence. There are people who are specifically giving out bad information. They'll give you just enough so that you'll understand that something is wrong, but then they just, again, they got you on the line and they just keep pulling you in, right? They're never actually going to
And who that is?
that you need or show you anything like that. It is controlled opposition, right? And so they put these people out here so that when certain people come saying certain things, they know, okay, they're going through one of our agents. They have no idea what they're talking about. They don't do any study of their own. You cannot sound like everybody else. Otherwise, they're going to treat you like everybody else. If you want your remedy, you have to stand out. You have to let them know that you are not the average ordinary Joe that they're used to dealing with, because otherwise they're going to play you like one. They're going to test you. They are waiting for you to slip up, right? It doesn't matter what the circumstance is. You are going to have to be able to stand on what you know. And if you falter, or if they feel like even for a second you don't know what you're talking about, it's a wrap. They're not going to take you seriously. Now, when it comes to the next method, right? We went over the coupon method. You stamp it, endorse it, put the stamps on there to pay the queen. You cancel them, you send it to the trustee. And we gave you the steps for that. Now,
and please send it register. Hold on one second, nephew. Please send it register mail. Because if you read the Securities Act, you will know that if you are sending a security, it has to be sent register mail. All these people got y'all using that green card. Why? Why? Because now you are on the line. You have to keep, even though their hands is dirty as I don't know what, you have to keep your hands clean. One, it has to be sent register mail. That is how you are able to invoke the Postmaster General. The reason that you're putting stamps on it, they cannot sell and keep countersigning any security that has a stamp on it. You closed it down with the stamp on the back of it. And then now you're able to invoke the Postmaster General. If you are sending register mail, make sure you get the mailing firm book, FIRM. If your post office said they ain't got it, go on their website, get your old school binder, the 3-0 puncher, print them out and make your own book, because that is your proof. Register
that is
mail.
Postal Form 3877. That's
3877. And register mail is so important that it sits on the mail truck in a glass lockbox by itself. If there's 15 different register mails, there's 15 different boxes on there, because you are now transferring the security. If you go to your post office and they try to give you an issue asking you, why are you sending it register mail? Because they will try to make you send it the green card. All you have to say is, I am sending a security. That's it. If they give you an issue when you try to buy the stamps, because the 2-cent stamp, 5-cent stamps, and 10-cent stamps, and the $5 stamps, they're backed by gold. They are not in that drawer. They have to go to the safe and get it. If they tell you they ain't got it, or they give you an issue, ask for the Postmaster General. It is a postmaster. If the post office is open, there is a Postmaster General that is there. At that point, you stand on it. Don't just walk away, because that's what they're used to people doing. And then if you walk away, it just shows that you didn't know what you were doing. Like he said, you got to stand on it. For y'all that heard his case when he fired the judge, and no, he did not go to jail. He walked out. The sheriff was outside. Nobody paid attention to the fact that she kept saying, the sheriff will be right back. Now, all of us have been in court at some point in time in our life. Have you ever seen a judge sitting on the bench with no sheriff there? But we did the proper steps before that, and we removed their jurisdiction. And we did that by him proving with the FOIA that he was not a U.S. citizen. This is why he can stand tall at 20 years old and tell a judge that she's fired, and his ass didn't go to jail. Because we removed, she was waiting. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that there was people ahead of me on the docket. Sheriffs were in the room. When I went up, the sheriff left. Sheriff left the room when I went up, when it was my turn.
She was waiting. I just
want to let that. Mm-hmm.
She was waiting for him to give authority over him. So that's why she asked him, put your phone down. Stop recording. At the moment he would have did that, he just gave her jurisdiction. He refused to give it. You see, she asked for it 3 times. Everything they do in 3s. Okay? But if it wasn't because he had the foundation and we filed the necessary paperwork before that case, then it could have went a lot differently. Okay? So you got to have the foundation so you can be able to stand on it. And you have to follow their rules. So if you're sending anything, please send it registered mail. Register mail. Yes, it does cost. All that mail procure crap. And stop being cheap and pay the register mail fee. Because at the end of the day, it's going to help you in the long run. And it has to be addressed to an actual person. You can't just say American Express. You pull that indenture trustee at your 10K or the 8K form, and if it says, just like Chauncey said, he told you who he had to address it to. Because the law says, the Security Exchange Act says that if it is not addressed to a person, they can disregard it. And it can't go to a P.O. box because of lockbox funding. If you want to know what that is, if I was you, I would look it up. If you take any of your bills and take that P.O. box address, just the address, and you put it in Google, it's going to pull up that company. Lockbox funding is the post office, because for you guys that know, the post office is the head of the Treasury. And the bank, whoever they use for their scanning, goes to the post office every day at 5 o'clock. That's why they say the bill got to be in by 5. And they pick those up. They never get those at the main company, which is why you have to find the proper address to send it to. And it has to be addressed to the proper person. And it has to be registered.
The reason is because your security, and this is what it says. It says it must be registered upon the books of the United States. What is the evidence? What is your evidence, right? Registered mail is your evidence of the security, right? It becomes registered upon the books. So that's why it's important. Anything that you send, I would send registered mail just because of how powerful it is. Now, when it comes to the next method, right? Billing error. Okay, we covered this before a little bit. When you're putting it into a billing error, right? 15 United States Code 1666, which tells you it's the Fair Credit Billing Act. And it tells you any balance over $1, right, is money owed to you. And we already know this, right? We know that this is money owed to you. And it also tells you that, well, we also know that according to the 16 CFR 433.1, we know in point 2 and 3, we know what a purchase money loan is, right? We know that you are supposed to receive a cash advance, right, in exchange for, and whatever service that you are receiving is a perk of you doing business, right? You go to somebody who is in the business of arranging credit for you, right? They are in the business of arranging credit. They arrange credit. Now, again, they get paid. They're supposed to be a service fee, right? The way it's supposed to work is they have their service fee. That is how they get paid. And then you get the money, you get the credit, and that's how it's supposed to work. Now, they rob you in the beginning. So a billing error means a reflection on or with a periodic statement of an extension of credit which is not made to the consumer or a person who has actual, implied, or apparent authority to use the consumer's credit card or open-ended credit plan. So it says, when you're going to put it into a billing error for the purpose of what it says, it tells you that a billing error notice, and I'm reading from 12 CFR 1026.13, which is the billing error resolution CFR. And then I'm also going to go into, there's a couple sections of the Fair Credit Billing Act that I want to cover as well. 1666. So, correction of billing errors. If a creditor within 60 days after having transmitted an obligor a statement of the obligor's account in connection with the extension of consumer credit receives at the address disclosed under Section 1637B a written notice other than a notice of a payment stub or other payment medium. Notice that a payment stub or other payment medium supplied by the creditor if the creditor so stipulates. that it sets forth or otherwise enables the creditor to identify the name and account number. So you need to have your name and account number. It must indicate your belief that the statement contains a billing error, and it sets forth the reasons for the obligor's belief to the extent applicable that the statement contains a billing error. So this is what all it's supposed to say, and that's, again, 1666. Now, if you scroll down, it'll tell you that not 30 days after the receipt of the notice, they have to send a written acknowledgement thereof to the obligor, right? Basically saying that they have received a receipt of your billing error, right? And they must make, and not later than 2 complete billing cycles, so 60 days, and in no event later than 90 days after the receipt of the notice, and prior to taking any action to collect the amount or any part thereof indicated by the obligor. So while they're investigating, and we're going to read this a little later, it tells you that they are not allowed to collect any amount of the disputed balance. And it also tells you that they're not allowed to report to your credit or take any adverse actions against you. So as soon as you send them a billing error notice indicating that you believe that there's an error on your account, it automatically goes into a do not pay, do not collect status. Now, if they do not respond within 30 days to your billing error notice, they're in violation of federal law already, right? So they have to respond, and normally they will. Now, this is what it says are their 2 options. Make appropriate corrections. Go ahead.
Okay. Before you finish that, I know some of you guys have probably done a billing error before you sent it to the CEO. If anybody got a bill in front of you, turn it around to the back. There is a notice on there that talks about a billing error. And it even tells you on that bill that if you do a billing error, that they can do no adverse action. But it also tells you the particular address that it's supposed to go to. Everything don't go to the CEO and the CFO. Those are just titles. Okay, they're paid to be a title, but it gives you on the back of the bill where to send it. If you feel like they're going to give you an issue, take that portion of the bill, highlight it, go get it out their terms and conditions, and add it in there because, you know, like I said, sometimes these people get amnesia and they act like they don't know what you're talking about. Okay, but if you do a billing error and you don't send it the proper way, whatever they describe and whatever address they tell you to send it to is basically not sending anything. Okay, you still have to follow their rules because when you follow their rules and you're in the process of getting remedy, let's say you tried all of this and it didn't work and now you do have to take them to arbitration. You're able to show the arbitration hearing officer that you've done everything that you were supposed to do according to the terms and conditions that you agreed to. You agreed to it. So you have to do it in that way. And if you do it that way, you'll get your remedy.
That's known as exhausting your remedy, right? Basically saying, look, before I came to you to do this arbitration, I tried to fix this with the company and they weren't having it. So now we're going to settle this privately. And I want to read you an example. This is from Discover Card, right? If anybody has Discovered, this is on your Discover statement. Page 2, it says, what to do if you think you find a mistake on your statement. If you think there is an error on your statement, write to us at Discover specific address or submit the form provided at discover.com/billing error notice. You may call us, but if you do, we are not required to investigate any potential errors. Because I know that there's going to be people who are like, all right, I'm going to call them up and I'm going to try to do billing error. No, if you call them, they are not required to investigate. And this is because anything said orally is not binding. The only thing that companies understand is black and white because corporations cannot speak. They have no voice. So if only corporations can deal with corporations, then the entity that you are the face of is communicating with them via paper because that's it. Black and white ink. That's the only way that they're actually able to speak. Anyone who you're calling up and speaking to is simply a representative for this company, right? And this representative is only trained on what they're trained on. They don't know everything. And so they're not going to be required. And most times they're not even going to know what you're talking about. Now, it says, not only are they not required to investigate any potential errors, and you may have to pay the amount in question. It says the billing rights notice further explains your right. It says, please see card member agreement or visit discover.com billing rights for a copy of this notice. So any company that you're dealing with, any credit card company, they have a billing rights notice. Go on their website, look it up, read what it says, because it's going to be on, most of the time it's going to be on your statement. It's definitely going to be in your card member agreement, and it's 9 times out of 10 also going to be on their website. So when you put it into a billing error status, they have 2 options. Make appropriate corrections in the account of the obligor, including crediting of any finance charges on amounts erroneously billed, and transmit to the obligor notification of such corrections and the creditor's explanation of any change in the amount indicated by the obligor under paragraph 2 or 2. Send a written explanation or clarification to the obligor after having conducted an investigation, setting forth to the extent applicable the reasons why the creditor believes the account of the obligor was correctly shown in the statement, right? So basically, they can either fix it or they'll send you a written explanation of why they believe that they are correct, right? And in the case of the billing error where the obligor alleges the creditor's billing statement reflects good not delivered, blah, blah, blah. So under B, which is billing error, when you scroll down just a little bit more, it says, for the purpose of this section, a billing error consists of any of the following: a reflection on a statement of an extension of credit which was not made to the obligor, a reflection of a statement of credit which was not made, which the obligor requests additional clarification, including documentary evidence. The creditor's failure to properly reflect properly on a statement of payment made, a computation error, failure to transmit the statement, and any other error described in regulations of the Bureau. So any action that you're going to be able to do, right? So now, actions, this is the best part right here, because this is what they can and cannot do. Action by creditor to collect amount or any part thereof regarded by the obligor to be a billing error. So for the purposes of this section, action to collect the amount or any part thereof indicated by the obligor under paragraph 2 does not include the sending of statements of account, which may include finance charges on amounts in dispute. The obligor, following written notice from the obligor as specified under section A, if the obligor's account is not restricted or closed because of the failure of the obligor to pay the amount indicated, the creditor indicates the payment of such amount is not required. Hold on, I think that was it. Be a billing error. May not prior to. Well, it also tells you under D, pursuant to the regulations of the Bureau, a creditor operating an open-ended credit plan may not, prior to sending the written explanation or clarification required under paragraph B, restrict or close the account with respect to the obligor has indicated pursuant to subsection A. That he believes to contain a billing error. So 1, they are not allowed to take any actions to collect any part of the disputed balance. And secondly, they're not allowed to take any adverse action. So they cannot just close your account before they send back a written explanation of why at least they believe that they are in error, right? But if you know the proper billing error, like Chauncey said earlier, you will get full crediting to your account. You just have to know exactly what you're saying. Because if you go in there talking about the United States is responsible for my debts in 15 United States Code 1692D, you're violating the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, they're going to laugh you out, right? They're going to laugh you out. Now, going on to 15 United States Code 1666B, right? This is timing of payments. So for anybody who has late payments or anything like that on their credit cards, right? That is something that can constitute a billing error because it tells you a creditor may not treat a payment on a credit card account under an open-ended consumer credit plan for late as any purpose unless the creditor has adopted reasonable procedures designed to ensure that each periodic statement, including the information, is mailed or delivered to the customer not 21 days before the due date, right? So they are listing your payments as late under an open-ended consumer credit plan, which is against the law. And you know that you have an open-ended consumer credit plan if you read Truth in Lending, because it tells you that the definition of an open-ended credit plan is an installment credit plan that is payable in more than 4 installments or something like that. So this is going to be all of your credit cards, right? This is going to be car contracts. This is going to be even mortgages. to a degree, but and also, so if that's one example of a billing error is late payments, because they're not allowed to list payments. And the other one that I want to focus on is the treatment of credit balances, right? So whenever a credit balance in excess of $1 is created in connection with the consumer credit transaction through transmittal of funds, blah, 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 amounts otherwise owed to or held for the benefit of an obligor, they must credit the amount of the balance to the consumer account, refund any part of the amount of the remaining credit balance upon the request of the consumer, and make a good faith effort to refund the consumer by cash check or money order any amount of the pounds, any part of the amount of the credit balance remaining in the account for more than 6 months, except that no further action is required. So you can request that they send you the money, right? Because again, when you look at your statements.
So I just want to, why you just said that, because so you can request that they send you that, right? That's what the law says. So when you guys are doing your billing error, number one, these are the terms that you must use. The certificate of indebtedness, okay? Certificate of indebtedness is the proper term for all of these debts that they claim that we owe, okay? Which is why under the IRS publication, they fill out the 1099-A. If it's a third-party debt collector, they do the 1099-C, is because of the IRS rules of certificates of indebtedness, okay? So when you are doing a billing error, please make sure that you add that they never credit your account for the certificate of indebtedness, okay? The IRS also says that they are supposed to send you that statement every year because it is considered income. Everything that they write off is supposed to be put on your taxes. That is actually what is your tax returns is for. They are supposed to send you those 1099s that they filed with the IRS by March 31st. And you're supposed to add all of that as considered income onto your 1040 or 1041. Hopefully you have a 1041. Okay. When you're asking them about a billing error and that $1 over the account, you can't just say, well, this is in a positive status. That's not what it works. Okay. What you are to say is that the company did not credit your account from the dividend payment that they made off of your treasury coupon. Those are the words that you are to use. Not, it's in a positive status. No, they did not credit your account via the Electronic Funds Transfer Act of the interest on your treasury coupon. Okay, those are the words.
Again, is the difference between public and private speaking, right? I'm trying to explain that to you in written terms of the fact that, yes, it is a positive balance, over $1. That's something that we all can understand. But when you're relaying that information back to them, you can't say it like that because they're not going to hear it. You have to say it exactly like that. They are not crediting my account, which they're supposed to because I gave them, you have to consent, right? This is why they have you opt in to paperless billing, right? Because they need your consent in order to have access to electronically put that stuff into your account, which is why they need your permission. And they make you opt in. So they're not crediting your account promptly, like she said, because of the certificates of indebtedness, right? So this is the private language, right? So this goes back again to having foundation where, again, we can't just refer to it as money. We have to refer to it as securities, especially when we're speaking to them. So always be careful of the language. And the language that I'm giving it to you is not always going to be the language that translates directly to how you have to send it to them, if that makes sense. Now, when you read the 12 CFR 1026.3 for billing error resolution under D, this is rules pending resolution, right? So this is all for you. Everybody who wants do not pay, do not collect status, this is it. The consumer need not pay, and the creditor may not try to collect any portion of any required payment that the consumer believes is related to the disputed amount, including related finance or other charges. So if the card holder has enrolled in automatic payment plan offered by the card issuer and has agreed to pay the credit card indebtedness by periodic deductions from the card holder's deposit account. Notice the words that they are using. These are the words that you need to use. You agree to pay the credit card indebtedness via what? The certificate of indebtedness by periodic deductions from your deposit account. If you want to know the definition of deposit account, that's in TILA. The card issuer shall not deduct any part of the disputed amount or related finance charges if a billing error is received anytime up to 3 business days before the scheduled payment date. So if it's April 29th and I send it off, and they get it, right? They're not 3 days before the next month or whatever. They're not allowed to pull that out while it's doing that. Now, adverse credit reports prohibited. The creditor or its agent shall not directly or indirectly threaten to make an adverse report to any person about the consumer's credit standing or report that an amount or credit account is delinquent because the consumer failed to pay the disputed amount or related finance charges. Now, acceleration of debt and restriction of account prohibited. They may not accelerate any part of the consumer's indebtedness. So if you have a loan and you put it into a billing error, they cannot say, we need it all now. See what I'm saying? They may not restrict or close the consumer's account solely because the consumer has exercised in good faith rights provided by this section. A creditor may be subject to the forfeiture penalty under 15 United States Code 1666E for failure to comply with any of the requirements of this section. So if you put it into a billing error and they close your account, you have an open and shut case. Prima facie, right? That's it. Prima facie simply means like it as it looks or as it stands or something like that. So it's open and shut. Like there's nothing that they can do. And when you go and actually look at 15 United States Code 1666E, this is notification of credit card, right? So it says with respect to any sales transaction where a credit card has been issued to obtain credit, where the seller is a person other than the card issuer and where the seller accepts or allows a return of the goods or forgiveness of the debt for services which were the subject of the sale, the seller shall promptly transmit to the creditor a statement with respect thereto, and the card issuer shall credit the account of the obligor for the amount of the transaction. They would be in violation of doing that because they did not send you that notice. They just closed your account, right? And they're supposed to respond. Now, permitted actions, right? A creditor is not prohibited from taking any action to collect any undisputed portion of the item or bill. So what you'll run into sometimes is that if you don't know what to say, then they're very good at going around your request. Because sometimes you'll try to put in a billing error request and you'll see that they respond with something that has almost nothing to do with what you said. But again, it's because you're not using the proper words, certificate of indebtedness and crediting my account, right? Now, those are all of the things that they cannot do. So that is how it's in do not pay, do not collect status. Arbitration is considered, well, it's not considered billing error. I mean, it sort of is, but while it's in arbitration, the same type of rules apply.
Oh, okay.
Right?
So for hire. Okay.
Just to piggyback, if you guys are going to use billing error as one of the things to assist you. So you see that it says that they cannot charge you for any of the debt that is considered disputed, right? But now if you're dealing with a bill that is a credit card or your light, you get those every month, right? So when you're writing that billing error notice, make sure you word it this way, that your billing dispute is for past, current, and present bills under this contract, okay? Because you can have 6 months worth of January to March. Those are what you're disputing, but then you just got a bill in April, and they like, wait a minute, you owe us April's bill. Well, technically, you will owe April's bill, right? So when you do the dispute, you make sure that you write past, current, or future certificates of indebtedness while under this contract. Okay, that's how you do that. Even if you're going to use the stamp, so that you don't have to stamp it every single month to send it to them. In your instruction letter, you can tell them that they are to do the same thing with the crediting of the account with the stamp, as long as there's a contract that is in place. Okay, if there's a company that you are no longer with, there's no statute of limitations on fraud. It can be a little confusing because TILA say 3 years, then they turn around and say no statute of limitations for fraud. So you like, which one is it? But see, TILA is just TILA. Yep, you got 3 years. Why? Because in 3 years, they write that debt off. They say that you abandon your money, and then they send it to your State Department. That's exactly what the Lost Money State website is for. It's public and private. Okay?
But under contract law, right? Bring that dispute. What am I saying here?
Arbitration outlives the contract. So if it's something that's over 3 years, please don't make TILA, like, even if it's a car that you're still paying on and it's over 3 years, don't make TILA your reasoning for the billing error. The reasoning is going to always be securities fraud. So where TILA is 3 years and then the federal government says there's no statute of limitations, that statute is talking about fraud. Remember,
yes, that's what I was going to say.
Everything you're dealing with is a security. The promissory note is security. The statement that you get in the mail every month, anything that they say you owe, please, y'all, securities. Start saying it all day. It's a security, it's a security, it's a security. And the only way a security can come to life is with our signature. Okay? Our signature only. He spoke about 16 CFR 433.1. Let me pull that up and tell you guys and show you, more importantly.
Yes, when you hear there's no statute of limitation on fraud, that is speaking of the statute of fraud for contract law, right? Because again, arbitration is private equity contract law. So this is why it lasts forever. So it doesn't matter if it's 20 years from now, even though the debt may have been written off 3 years after, I could still bring a claim for securities fraud, if that makes sense. You just have to go, again, to the proper venue. If you're in the wrong venue, you're not going to get the right remedy because they're not listening to you. You cannot show up prepared for Sunday service to a funeral like you're crazy.
There you go. And one of the things that you guys can use now, I'm in 16 CFR 433.1. Okay. Whether it's a house or whether it's a car, everybody tell you, oh, Congress did define loan. Yes, they did. It's called a money purchase loan, right? So it's a cash advance, which is received by the consumer. So now everybody stop and think. You went and bought that car, you went and got that house. Where's your check? Because it said it's a cash advance that was received by you in return for a finance charge. Did you receive it? So this right here can be used to dispute, because you can say, well, I never got a money purchase loan. They gave me a consumer loan, but according to the law, it was supposed to be a money purchase loan. For you guys,
I want to give
for a detailed
example of this.
I've told you guys that when you was at that closing table, the title company had a check with your name on it.
Mm-hmm.
That in 3 years later, they're going to say you abandoned and they give it to your state. The reason why it takes 12 years and 15 days for you to do a car deal is, one, they write into contracts. Two, they're waiting for that electronic check that has your name on it, that they failed to give you, the car, the house. Those things was the perk. You made a security come to life, and I'm going to show you where. And then after you can take back over. Contract.
Yes.
When you guys are doing they say you signed a contract, right? But according to their rules, a contract is either formal or informal between a creditor and a seller. Or where the hell is you at? Where did you come into the deal at? If it's only between a creditor and a seller, right? So anybody who got that contract in front of you, you will see at the top, it'll say creditor/seller, and then it's going to have the dealership there, okay? For you guys that choose to want to fight your own arbitration cases, You better start by adding the dealership on there first, and then the finance company, and then the trustee, and then the indenture trustee, because the fraud first started with the sale at the dealership, because a contract is only valid in between a finance company and a creditor and seller. And if you hit the blue word, it'll tell you a person who in the ordinary course of business lend money, purchase, or finance the sale of goods and services. I know y'all like to holler, I'm the creditor, I'm the creditor, I'm the creditor. Yeah, this says that you're not unless you're in the ordinary course of business every day lending money. And you're not. You're the debtor. Period. If the United States is responsible for all of the debt, why do you want to be a creditor anyway? If they're responsible for the debt, okay, please make it make sense. So the contract was fraud from the beginning due to the fact that the only way that a contract can even be a contract and it sticks, it has to be the creditor and the finance company, okay?
And if you see, okay, yes, thank you. Sorry. If you've seen the video I did on my page, it has like 500,000 views about how the banks do it, right? And this was the conversation where he says, okay, is it true that they created the credit upon their own books, right? So you signed it. When you signed your certificate of indebtedness, you gave them the equivalent of however much the loan is. They then transfer that money to themselves as an asset in order to loan it back to you. Now, when the bank was asked about this, the banker, he said, it is the policy of Congress that allows this. All the banks are doing this. And common practice for the banks to use false and misleading representations and furnishing deceptive forms into leading people that to believe that they're getting a service they're not getting. And he says, but the borrower received a check in-house. I could not tell you what was going through the mind of the borrower at the time. The government has to turn a blind eye to these proceedings because they know how it's supposed to go. But that's not ever how it actually goes. See what I'm saying? So that's one thing that you have to be mindful of, is that they are in the mindset of, okay, this person is agreeing to these terms, however crazy they might seem. And that's what it is. That's how they can play dumb, right? Because technically you did agree to this. This is the policy. It doesn't matter that they misled you. You agreed to that contract, right? So we've given you the stamp method. We have given you billing error, which is very similar to arbitration for those who know about arbitration. Arbitration is the best venue to handle your private disputes. Arbitration is the venue that they gave you. If you don't want to have to stamp it and send it every month, arbitration, right? That is the venue where you're supposed to handle it. But if you're going to do arbitration, you have to come with it. You cannot be lacking in any capacity. You have to have all of your bases covered. Otherwise, they're going to laugh you off. So, Auntie, you have anything you want to say before we get into the 1099?
No, you got it. Hey. I'm so proud of him, y'all. Y'all clap your hands and let me see it. Because he is doing an awesome job. This is his first class that he is doing the majority of it, because y'all know I'm about to retire, but I'm going to pass the baton, as I said. So that is who the baton is passed to, because he took the information from the beginning of me giving it to him. He went in, he did the work. Like, he saying that because he's my nephew, because he became my nephew because of this. We are not blood auntie and nephew, but that is my nephew. And if you try him, that means you try me, and we don't want to do that, okay? So don't do that. So y'all just give him a hand, because he's doing a wonderful job. And like we told you guys, we will give you guys every way so that you can discharge it. It's up to you on which one you want to be able to do, but you will have the foundation to be able to get your remedy, because that's what the goal is. I don't drop as many receipts as I drop for nothing. And then y'all just heard it for yourself. So nope, we can get into that. I'll pull it up and we'll go through how to properly use the 1099A and C and how it's supposed to be filled out if you choose to go that route. But you will still hear us say that if you want 2 times the amount of the contract and not just the finance charge, we're saying the little box that was fraud, okay? The entire contract. So if the car was $35,000 and they say that's what you owe, if you want 2 times the amount of that and all your payments back and not just a clear title, is anything to get a clear title. Hell, the title, you will see nobody has a lien. Nobody. Okay? And in order for a debt collector to legally collect a debt, there has to be 2 components. The first one is that retail installment agreement or promissory note that you got, right? That's the little bit. But the main thing to make sure that it's perfected, because it can't just be a lien, it has to be perfected, okay? The second part of that perfected lien comes from the Uniform Commercial Code on a federal and state level that says, in order for you to be able to collect from Dare, you better have a UCC 11 in this system where Dare live at, saying that you are over this. And I promise you, everybody who has looked their UCC 11 up, there's not one. There is no one. You know, and honestly, you can go file a UCC 3 and get a release of lien. But yeah, you know, I don't need y'all clogging up the system on doing that because y'all love to clog up systems. Okay, but yeah, you can. But if you go read the UCC law, it will tell you in that law that when you request from the company to give you the UCC 3 and they don't, it says that you can file it on your own. And y'all go read it and find it. Because that's what you can stand on. You can literally, a UCC 3 for you guys that don't know. So we have the UCC 1 that shows that you have a lien. Every contract that you sign, if they say they got a security interest, there has to be a UCC 1 on file in your state with your name and their name on it, okay? You search your name. You go up under your state, Secretary of State, UCC 11. You can put that in Google. If you're in Florida, Florida, Secretary of State, UCC 11 search. Put your name in there. If you do not see anything, the best thing to do, because they can say you made that paper up, make your states tell you that there's no lien there via the certified form, okay? Then at that point, you can ask the corporation, hey, you don't have a lien. I need you to file a UCC 3. If they deny you because you have done the chain of command, then you can take that same certified UCC that the state gave you back down to the state and say, I need you to file a UCC 3 so I can take it to the DMV and get this lien up off of my name, off of my title. Having it on the title and having it in the UCC system is not a perfected lien. But y'all know it's one big circle. And the DMV is a part of it, which is why the dealership tell you, oh, we'll file your papers to get, because they already sold your MCO title to the DMV. Because the only way they can sell it again if it's one of us come in to create the security, because they already sold it to the DMV. Okay, so if I was y'all, go pull your UCC 11, get it certified, and as the UCC says, if at that point that the corporation does not remove it and you can prove that there's no lien, the proof comes from the certified paper. You can take that down to your Secretary of State and say, I need for you to file a UCC 3 or file it yourself. And then now your lien has been released. And then you go to the DMV and boop, you got a clear title, okay? And once they know their name is off that title, they're not coming. They're not going to send the repo person. I promise you that. Okay. So.
And like,
gonna,
for example,
you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I just was going to say a couple of things first. For example, in my state, I can do it when I do a UCC search. I have the option to get it certified directly on there because it's on the Secretary of State website, right? So if you're able to do it online and have them certified that way, get it done because it's still certified by the Secretary of State, right? So that's really all you need. And the other thing, okay, when it comes to the 1099s, one, please, for the love of God, do not try to print out a physical form and walk onto a car dealership and hand them a 1099 like you got to pay for a car. Don't do it. You're making us look bad. you're making it harder for everyone else. I actually seen a story on the news. The narrative around 1099s has become so bad, it went mainstream. This is why when I went and set my 1099, 8 days. Now it's taking a little longer, right? Because so many people are doing it and they're not doing it correctly. If you go on YouTube and you look up 1099, how to fill it out, you're going to see people telling you to put 111 Constitutional Drive, the treasury, loaning money. That will get you sent to jail. Because what I need you to understand about when you're filling out these forms, if you're putting the treasury on there, then what you are doing is, as your private self, you're infringing on the rights of the government, because you are authorizing a payment to be drawn from the treasury to this company, right? So when they're going through their paperwork, they're like, wait a minute, this debt came from the treasury, but nobody who works for the government authorized this. So then they're going to come find whoever authorized this payment, right? Infringing on the rights of the government. That's fraud. That's why you're going to go to jail.
And not just that, if you go read on the Treasury Direct website. So we done talked about securities enough. Y'all know what a security is, okay? On the Treasury Direct website, it says that if you have any issues with your securities, do not contact the Federal Reserve. Do not contact the Treasury. So why is people sending stuff to Janet Yellen or whoever is the head of whoever? It clearly states on there, if you have a problem with your securities, do not contact the Federal Reserve or the Treasury. You know what it said to contact? Your bank. It says contact your financial institution. They said it, right?
And I can confirm it. It's on the Treasury website. Go on there, look it up, treasurydirect.gov. Read through it.
Yeah, it's just like if you're doing your coupons and you look up Treasury coupons, it'll tell you that they mature every 4 weeks. If you're dealing with a promissory note, like for your house or your car, those are considered zero interest certificates of indebtedness, okay? Zero interest certificate of indebtedness. Y'all that I can see, I don't see no pens writing. And it's called a zero interest certificate of indebtedness. Why? Because in 24 hours, it can be paid out. So when you are dealing correctly to pay you out in 24 hours, because they got paid out in 24 hours, because that's how the zero interest certificates of indebtedness goes. Okay. As far as the 1099s go, you ready, nephew?
Absolutely. And when it comes to the 1099s, the most recent one that I actually submitted was for a credit card. It was a $1,200 balance, but I did the whole thing via 1099. That was another debt that I had recently discharged. So we're going to go through how to fill it out. So in order to fill it out, and you're going to see the form pop up with the instructions momentarily, but you are going to go to 1099 online. I know it says 1099A, but it's just 1099 online. And you're going to create an account and you're going to log in, right? So on your dashboard, you are going to select that you're going to, you're going to do the year before. So it's 2023, you're filing 1099s for 2022, right? For all your debts that are this year, if that makes sense.
And you can go back 3 years. You know how they say you can go back 3 years for your taxes? This is what they're talking about. So you can actually go back 3 years and be able to do this, okay? But like he said, if you're filing for 2023, if you're filing it in 2023, it's actually what happened in 2022. Those indentured trustees, okay, not the CEO, not the CFO. The indentured trustee is the one that is responsible for this, okay? And they had until March the 31st, unless they asked for an extension, they had to make sure that all of these 1099 were in. So if you bought a car last year, it's a 1099A. If you had a debt pop up on your credit report that is now with a third party agency, that is where the 1099C comes into. Okay, guys? Okay, keep going there.
Okay, so you are going to be the lender, contrary to what everybody else is saying, right? Putting the Treasury as the lender. You are the lender. And this is because Social Security is a trust, right? Only trust can deal with trust. You are giving them authorization to pull the money from this trust. Acquisition or abandonment is the name of this form because you are acquiring this debt, right? So you are going to put yourself in the lender's box as an individual. You're going to add your Social Security, right? And in the first name box, right? So you're going to write it out so it's your beneficiary signature, which is your first name dash your middle name with a colon. You're going to skip the middle name box.
Say that one more time. They're going to skip what box?
The middle name box.
Thank you.
Your first and your middle name go in the first name box. First dash middle with a colon, right? That's how it's supposed to look because that's the first portion.
In this box right here, guys, if your name Mary Sue, it's going to say Mary/Sue semicolon, okay? You go skip this box because your middle names is not legal names. And then you'll tell you guys what to put in the last name box.
Then in the last name box, you're going to put your last name followed by beneficiary in all caps. Now, funny story, first time I did it, I forgot to put my last name and I just put beneficiary. And so there was a bit of an issue with that. But make sure you put your last name followed by beneficiary in all caps, right? So when you're done, it'll look like you'll see it'll be written out your beneficiary signature on
like
there.
This. And there's no comma there on your last name. It'll just say Doe space and beneficiary has to be in capital letters. Everything else is in upper lowercase, of course, because we're talking about the living being and not the corporation, okay? Because corporation can't speak, including your all capital letter name. You are the agent for your corp, okay? So it'll be first name / middle, colon, and no middle name. Last name will be your last name. Then there's the space, not a comma, not a dash, one space, and then put beneficiary in all capital letters.
Then you're going to finish. And then once you're done with that, you'll see your payer information pop up in the box. Now you're going to, again, and so there's going to be an option where it says last filing. You're not going to check that, right? That because that does not apply. Just don't click on that. But click on the borrower's box. And this is where you're going to put the company's information. You're going to get that off of their securities exchange forms that they have registered. Their 8K and their 10K. They have their business address, their EIN or their TIN. Then when it comes to the person who you are addressing, right? So it's going to be the EIN of the company who you're paying and attention to the CEO, right? You're going to do it to the CEO because you have to remember when we're sending our payments, there's a chain, right? It goes from the deposit, it goes from the LLC to the depositor to the trust to the trustee. So you're sending it to them, right? And once it is accepted, right? Because they'll say that it's accepted. You'll see when they accept it. And then what is the next? There's another one. I believe it goes from accepted to mailed. Once they mail it off, then what you will do is you're going to print out a copy, right? Because you'll have access to print out copies. Copy B for borrower. You're going to send a copy to the trustee bank with the cover letter saying, I have filled this form out. I know it is your responsibility to discharge this debt. Please make sure that it was done. This was the date. Here's the evidence it was accepted by the IRS. This was the date that it was mailed to them, right? So that I just want to specify, you pay the company and then you send a copy to the trustee once it has been accepted. So the address, of course, is the business address, phone, and email for the company. Add all of that information. So then you have the company's information. Now, this is where you start looking at the different boxes, right? So can you pull up a 1099, like what it looks like? So they can see a picture of the boxes. Because you're going to see, I want you to be able to match what I'm saying, like have an image when I say box 1, box 2, right? Because you're going to start filling that information out. So the first box is the date of lender's acquisition or knowledge of abandonment, right? That's the first one. And that one is self-explanatory. It's the date that you open the account. So, or the date that you sign the contract. That is the date. So, box 2, if it is a monthly bill, right? If you're looking at a monthly bill, that is the balance of outstanding principal. So if you're doing something like, Netflix and it's like $15.99 a month, that is what you put there. And then in the next box, which is the box 4, you're not going to put anything in box 3. And so I want you to take a look on here, right? Oh, this is a... Okay, so like I was saying, in box 4, which is the fair market value of the property, that is going to be the full value of the bill in the year, right? So going back to our Netflix example, if you take that $15.99 and you do it by 12 months, it's $191.88. So that would be the fair market value of the property, right? Now, say you're doing the entirety of a loan, right, and it's $10,000. You would put in box 2, if they're sending you a statement every month, you would do that much of the statement, and then in the fair market value of the property, that would be the full amount, or you could put the full amount in both boxes, right? So box 5, right? Box 5 tells you borrower was personally liable for repayment of the debt. So you're going to click on that because that is true in this case. They're going to be the ones who are responsible for discharging it, right? And box 6 is the account that you're going to pay, right? So again, Netflix, Hulu, if it's car finance auto loan through CarMax, right? Anything like that. That is the description of the property. Or like if you're getting a house, real property, right? So those are examples of things that you can use to describe the property. And the account number is the account number of whatever your account number is over that account, right? So that they have all of the information. So when you're done, it's going to look like this. You're going to be in the lender's box. There's going to be the lender's TIN, which is your SSN. The borrower's TIN is going to be the company. The borrower's information, you're going to see the CEO. The address is going to be their main incorporated address that you find on the AK. The account number is your account number that you have with them. And then you're going to fill in all of the information relating to how much is, right? And again, this is for all debts going back up to 3 years. Now, once you finish it, you're going to continue it and you're going to want to mail it to them, select to have them mail it. You don't have to do the 10 match if you don't want to. But once it is accepted, because after so long that you'll see the IRS has accepted it, and then you'll see that they have approved it. You will know you'll be able to track the payment, basically. You'll be able to see every single step along the way.
Now, with the 10, when it asks for you to do the 10 match, I personally, I do the 10 match because you are guaranteeing that you put the correct EIN number for that particular company in the box, okay? Sometimes when you're doing the 1099, it's automatically pop up in that box. And you're like, wait a minute, that ain't my account number. Because you match the 10 and all of these corporations have a primary account with them, that will be their account number. That is something that's internal. If that does happen, leave it there. But where it says description of the property, you can put account number. You can put your account number there. Okay. But please do the 10 match because you can miss a number. Or you could have got an outdated EIN number for these companies. And that right there is just guaranteeing that the proper one was filed.
And depending it's super cheap.
Very cheap. Yes, you got to spend a couple $, to do it, but it is done electronically filed. And I think they were like $2, nephew, $3.
Yeah, it's like $3. It's because it's like $1 for the mailing and then $1 extra for another charge. And if you do the 10 match, it's a couple more cents, but it's less than $5 to do the entire thing. And then I just need 1 minute. I just need a couple moments.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, so let me go back. So once again, it's done on 1099 online. And the page that I'm about to pull up is exactly how it looks. Second.
Now, while I'm still doing what I'm doing, for the 1099-C, that's 3 years old. The form is almost identical to the 1099-A. You're going to fill it out the same way, except this time you're putting, if it's a collections, you're putting the collections, right? I believe.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Yes. So you're going to put the collections.
It's the same exact way.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's the same way, but just make sure that you're doing that for a bill that is 3 years or more older, and they have not tried to collect in 1 year, which is ultimately all of these third-party debt collection agencies. Okay, and that is when you will do the 1099-C. Like you said, it is filled out the exact same way, outside of the fact that it will be a C. And once it is accepted, and you see that it is accepted, there will be an option on your dashboard where you can then send it to the other parties. And that is when it will go to the indenture trustee and trustee, or either one. I personally send it to everybody. I want everybody to have it. Okay, so I send it to everyone once I've known that the IRS has accepted it, and they will let you know that it has been accepted. And as he told you, if it's your electric bill, your rent, now this does not take effect if you have a private landlord, okay? It is only people that have access to the treasury. So if your landlord private, please don't do it. More importantly than anything, and y'all see, I put it in red, keep paying your accounts until it went through, or you've done another remedy like a billing error or something like that. Don't say that Tamika and Caleb told y'all to stop paying your bills and now your lights is off, okay? Because you're just going to be in the dark. I will send you a candle or 4, okay? That's about it. Please continue to pay on your account until you see that everything has worked. This is not an overnight process. We get a lot of you guys coming to us. I ain't paid my car note in 90 days, and now they're about to repo it. None of this stuff is overnight. Stop putting yourself in emergencies that you don't have to put yourself in. You know, even if you know you're about to do some of this, if you're past due, go set up a payment plan or something. Go do something so that you will not lose access to whatever necessity that you have while you're in the process of doing this. Okay? If you got an account that is 15 years old and you're still paying on there, as he told you, you have to put the original date of acquisition, which means you might need to call them and say, hey, what day did I open my account up? Don't call them talking all this TILA and all this other crap. Be like, hey, you know, I just need for my records, can you please advise me what day my account was opened now? All day long. And then that is when you use these remedies here. Okay? I'm done.
Absolutely. So those are going to be your primary methods of discharging right there, right? We showed you the stamp, billing error, of course, arbitration, and then the 1099-A and C. So those are what you're going to use in order to tender all. CC 3603 and 3604. If you tender a payment and it is refused, there is discharge, right? There's discharge. So understand your rights and take information. Have been with us for a while, have received remedy. I have received remedy. I am still receiving remedy. I just went and opened up business line through T-Mobile that I'm doing with the remittance method, right? Sending that, no issues. They took it the first month, right? Because I understand my foundation. That's it. So I've seen some people saying, oh, T-Mobile didn't take mine. Did you endorse it properly according to how they told you to do it? They have regulations that they give to the Treasury for. It's really that simple.
If you are so happen to be being sued by a debt collector, okay? If you have an arbitration clause in your contract or in their terms and conditions and you're being sued, all you have to do is file a motion, removal. Says that if you decide that you want to take them to court, anything legal, it says that you have to do mandatory arbitration. That is also on their side. If your car has been repoed, immediately file for arbitration. They have to release the vehicle. On top of the fact that you need to call your sheriff's department and your local PD to see if they actually reported that they repoed your car. They got 3 days to do it, and if they didn't, you can file a theft report because technically now your car has been stolen. Okay, so arbitration does work on both sides. So once again, if you are in court, due to mandatory arbitration clause, because I'll tell you what they'll do. Let's say you decided you want to do a federal court case because people are telling you guys to go spend $400+ to file a federal case. It's a federal court. Capital One attorney, I can promise you, is going to file a motion saying that this case needs to be dismissed due to the mandatory arbitration clause. Use that same crap against them. And it works. And once you get it removed because of a mandatory arbitration clause, guess what they can't do? They cannot take you back to state court. They're going to have to now take you to arbitration. But unfortunately for them, they don't have the legal right under the security exchange to even take you for arbitration, but you can take them. And they are responsible for the fee if you are to read your arbitration clause. It says that up to $5,000 that they are responsible to pay for you to discharge that shit. One, instead of turning your instrument around, writing pay to the order on there, you're going to use that big, wonderful stamp. Okay? That is the stamp that you will use. It goes to the trustee and the indenture trustee. I know sometimes they're not easy to find. They may be a company on the side of a company on the side of a company. But then my question to you is, how bad do you want? Right? I can look them up in 2-3 minutes now because I'm used to it. But I've been doing this long enough. I know how to find them properly. If you are dealing with a credit union, credit unions are nonprofit organizations, which means they are hiding inside of their main company. Okay, Navy Federal is up under Navy Federal Financial Services, LLC. That's who has the file with the Security Exchange. Okay. So yeah, it's going to take a little bit of work, but that's the difference. Instead of writing pay to the order on there now, use the stamp. Use the stamp according to 31 CFR 329.6. Okay. It does work. Depending on who you got to, they may make you do a little extra work, you know, and if all these things are, if it don't give you the results that you're looking for, you want to keep a paper trail, because if you do decide to sue them, if you decide to take them to arbitration, If you don't take them to arbitration and you want to sue them, it has to be done in chancery court. If you notice, when you look these companies up, they're all registered in Delaware, correct? Most of them, all of them. And it's that there is. And two, chancery courts. Yes, there is a chancery court. It's located in Delaware. Chancery court is all equity. All they're going off of is equity and law. And now you are able that is securities fraud. When you're going after them, remember, if y'all remember nothing else tonight, remember it is securities fraud. It's securities fraud, it's securities fraud, it's securities fraud. Okay? So you have the stamp that you can use, you have the billing error that you can use, you have the 1099, A and C, depending on the company that you can use. And of course, you got arbitration because every last one of your agreements have an arbitration clause in it. The only one that, well, the two, billing error stops your payments, especially if you put past, current, and future under as long as this contract is in effect. But the only way to for sure put your bill in a do not pay, do not collect, don't come repo, don't cut me off status is about the one in an arbitration if you have an arbitration. Okay?
Yes, because they can play dumb with. All right, whatever excuses that they want to give you, but they can't do that in arbitration, right? Because in arbitration, they're compelled to give you anything that you request for, right? It goes back and forth. It's in order to ensure fairness on both sides, right? Anything you
and that actually was in the arbitration class. They came to one class and people kept asking me, why did I not release those arbitration videos yet? Because I said that somebody was going to run and jump off of a cliff, and they did. And they did arbitration saying it was a billing error, okay? So they put in a request to get the accounting via GAAP on the public and the private side. The arbitrator hearing officer denied it. You know why he denied it? Because he did it as a billing error. And he told him, well, your statements look fine to me. Yeah, because a billing error is just your statements that come every 4 weeks, right? So why do you need the accounting? Because they gave them all of the statements from beginning to end. So the arbitrator hearing officer is like, well, why do you need accounting according to GAAP? You didn't ask about, he ain't gonna tell them that it should have been under securities fraud, and then you could have got those GAAP records, right? But and he don't know what the area is, which ultimately why he has now come to me to fix his mess, you know? And that's why I said earlier, people are clogging up this arbitration system, and they're gonna find a way around that if you do not do it correctly. And that's a one-shot chance. And once you lose it, how are you going to come back? You can't come back from it. Now you're stuck with this debt that you know is already paid because you jumped off of a cliff without having a parachute. And we don't want to see any of you guys do that. Okay? Go ahead.
And also, I was going to say, for everybody, when it comes to the bill of exchange that was mentioned, right? You have to be in a specific status at the bank in order to be able to even give that out to them and issue it properly, because you have to deal with the banks in their proper capacity. And very few people, if any, in this class are in that proper status. So we're not really going to touch on that just because it's not going to be of any help to anybody who's not in that proper status right now. And I just wanted to let you guys know that that is why that was opted to be left out of this lesson but you've been given 4 different methods, 5. So I think that's more than plenty.
And then not just that, when you look at sending them a bill of exchange, right? Why are you giving them another payment? If you know that that promissory note paid it, why are you giving them another payment? Because what's going to happen is they're not going to credit your account, but they are going to keep that bill of exchange, and now they're going to trade it all over the world, and now they made more money, right? If the thing is, if we know that the promissory note paid it, if we know that those are dividends, because we are all investors, every company that you're signed up with, lights, gas, water, whatever, you are now an investor into their company. What do investors get? They get interest payments, right? So that's the interest payment that you're getting. So why would you give them an international bill of exchange or a bill of exchange when they've already been paid? Okay, so I sent a letter to all of the banks. It's some paper that somebody telling people to send, and they flat out said that it's fraud. Call your attorney general's office. We are not backing any of these things because, once again, the Treasury say goes to your financial institution. Everything has to be done through the security transfer agent. Now, when you get off of able to create one and then sell it to them. But as a minor, you can't do that. On the wrong side of the bank, you can't do that. You got to move yourself over to the living side, the blue side, because blue is for living and red is for dead. But my thing is, why are you constantly giving? That's just like sending them a FRN. Why are you constantly paying for something that has already been paid, and now you just raise the debt level? Because they're not. Well, I have a few people that have sent international bill of exchange. They're like, well, they didn't credit my account, but they didn't return my instrument. They're not going to return it. They said, thank you for being a fool for sending us some more money because now we're about to capitalize off of it. Okay? I don't want to see nobody in failure. I don't want to see nobody lose their house. I don't want to see nobody lose their car. And I'm not going to lie to y'all. You know, it's just as simple as that. The things that we showed you guys tonight, they work if you do them properly. Sometimes you got to do something more than once, but you have to be able to have the foundation to stand on, to know what you're doing, more importantly, why you're doing it, and why you have the authority to make them do it. That's the key. Why do you have the authority to make them do it? And if you just go pull their security agreement and go down to Title VI, it says how they're supposed to cancel out our debt. It also says if the consumer never pays you, you've already been paid and you have no recourse. Mm-hmm. It's in their security agreement. And then you can also request from them to provide you with all the 1099s that they actually filed onto your account. You can request it from them, or you can request to a Freedom of Information request. I'm telling y'all, them FOIAs is life, okay? You can do an FOIA to the IRS department in Atlanta and tell them that you need all 1099s that has been filed on your account. You can put from the age of 18 to whatever, put the dates, and then they'll send it to you on a CD-ROM, okay? And once again, that's the IRS location in Atlanta. And I'm not going to give y'all the address. Go Google it.
I was going to say, they have actually on their website specific instructions for how to send a FOIA, because if you don't send it particularly as a Freedom of Information, then they're not going to respond to it. I actually had one guy who was having issues doing that, but it's because, again, he didn't. And then I went on to the IRS website and I said, well, did you do this? And he said no. And I said, well, that's why. So make sure that you read how they tell you to do it, because they give you explicit instructions for how to do a Freedom of Information, right? So just keep that as a resource.
That is correct. So, I got 1099, got billing error, you got arbitration, and what other one we got?
1099 A and C.
Oh yeah, the A and C, the billing error.
The stamp method, so for everyone who wants to do their remittance.
The stamp method is that deal. Like, there's no denying that. There's no denying that. Because guess what? They are stamping that. But they do it, everything is electronic. Remember from the Electronic Funds Transfer Act. I've said that phrase a whole bunch of times on this call. And if I was you guys, I would go pull the EFT Act. You will learn a lot about your bank account and what they ain't doing and what they're supposed to be doing up under that Electronic Fund Transfer Act, right? So with that stamp, you heard Chauncey itself, like, we don't. That same exact stamp that you are stamping on that statement is the same exact stamp the indenture trustee stamp on there, because they have to send the security, right? They have to send it through the TDA in order for a QSIP number to be developed so that they can sell in the international market to be able to make money to pay off the public debt. It has to go through them, and then it comes back down to the financial institution, and then it's supposed to come back down to you. So that same stamp is the stamp that they use in order for them to exchange. And them a cover sheet and make sure that if your TDA account is open, that you are to tell them that once it is securitized, that they are now supposed to put it into your account, okay, your TDA account. And then if you got children and your TDA account is set up properly, there is a whole spot on there for kids. They even put a little cartoon on there to tell them how the system works. Y'all might want to go look at it. It's on the TDA account. That's when you're supposed to open up the account for your children, connect yours to theirs, so your children is piggybacking off of your securities from your TDA side of the account, because the bank, but you're not getting to the TDA the way you think you are without using the middleman, okay? You need the middleman, and the middleman is the bank. The bank rules the world. We're not up under the regular constitution. We are up under the banker's constitution. You never heard of it, go look it up. We are literally up under the banker's constitution. It's not the government that is stealing from you. It is your financial institution that is stealing from you. So utilize them properly. If you utilize them properly, they cannot tell you no. Okay?
So you have those methods, the stamp method, billing error, 299 A and C. If those do not work the first time, you have your notice of default and opportunity to cure. Act by the UCC, understanding that tendering a payment, and if it's refused, they don't send it back, there is discharge. But the ultimate venue is going to be arbitration, because in arbitration, that is the end all be all. That is the method where if you have your stuff, you have your defense, that's going to be the best remedy that you're going to get. Because yes, you are entitled to 2 times the value of the contract, but going forward, anytime in the future, that is how you get your open-ended credit, right? It has to be through arbitration. That is going to be the best method. So you have all of these methods that you can use. You can enforce if you understand why it is that they are supposed to be enforced. So now when we take all of this information and we understand that all obligations are discharged because the authority, the ability of Congress to regulate the power of the dollar when we went off the gold standard, all debts are discharged. All obligations belong to the United States, and they are already discharged. Now, since these FRNs are evidence of money that the government is supposed to pay to us, right? The reason why we have these receipts, everything is operating off of credit. We have these receipts, we have these things so that we can get paid from the interest, right? Because we are making deposits to these institutions. We are investors, and the receipt, the statement, you get a receipt when you go to the store for the interest. That's why you can take all of that off on your taxes, right? Where's your receipt from these companies, right? It is your monthly statement. That is your receipt. That is your interest. And that is your claim, right? That you have, it's there. It's all there. We just have to know how to access it properly.
Yeah, which is ultimately why the W-4 sandwich did used to work until everybody started doing it.
Because they have you open for you. who are auditing these companies because they are not giving you your funds.
And the IRS can see on the private. Now it's not working any longer because people started doing it the wrong way. And so, as I said, and y'all go watch that video on YouTube, it tells you that if one or two figure it out, they have enough in their arsenal to combat it. But unfortunately for them, after Freedom, they made her own little arsenal, and we win it. Period. Like, we're winning. We're winning in arbitration. We're winning in every which way that a person.
It's even higher. Good Lord.
I did put 1-on-1 review up on my Instagram where you see they settled out with that person. And that was a whole contract. And she decided to take the $7,000. I told her she could have got more, but she said, hey, I'm good with the $7,000 and I'm going to keep moving. And it was for a vehicle that she no longer now has to pay for. And then she got the $7,000 back. And this was a vehicle that she just got maybe 2 months ago. So it does work. If you want them to settle out with you, even in arbitration, know what to say properly. You can even do a pre-arbitration with them. Like, you can file it, but then you can send them, a letter advising them, hey, if you want to just settle this off on our own, then you can. But when you start using words like securities fraud and things of that magnitude, you will definitely respond to you a little bit differently and a lot more quickly instead of them just ignoring your letters. Because that's exactly what they're going to do. And that's exactly what you've been doing. Okay?
Absolutely. So there it is. That is Discharge That 2.0. It couldn't be summed up any better because that's the methods that you're going to do it. And if you don't know what an indenture trustee is, and 8K and 10K, this is for all the new people, because I know we mentioned that several times. All of these companies, according to the Securities Exchange Act, they're required to be registered in some form with the Securities Exchange. We also know that all of these companies have a trustee. SEC.gov, SEC.gov. You're going to go on there. You're going to search for companies, any company that you're dealing with. What you're going to be looking for on the Securities Exchange website under the company is their 8K and their 10K filings. You're looking for this information because on this information, one, you'll see their primary principal business address. You'll see a whole bunch of important information. It'll tell you the CEO, CFO, all the information about the company are on these. These are, I believe they're called like annual reports. Yeah, they're annual reports. 8K and 10K annual reports. They're required to be filed every single year. The 10K you will be able to find, there will be mention of the indenture trustee in one of those forms. Tip to find it easier, if you go on the 10K, scroll all the way to the bottom, right? You're going to see all of the blue links, right? What you're looking for is an indenture agreement. That is what it is called. Whenever the agreement that creates the relationship of a company and their indenture trustee is known as an indenture agreement. So if I'm on the Securities Exchange website for a company, and it looks like, what company is this here? Capital One.
I just pulled up Capital One. So y'all know y'all have to put that EIN number on that 1099. Get it from market here.
Scroll and to the bottom.
Yeah, and make sure that is the actual one. This one is like 224 pages, but listen. So
we see the blue links because I'm gonna show you exactly what to look for. Oh, it's gonna be up a little bit, so it's just towards the bottom. Oh wait, here it is. This is a PDF. Yeah, I see it. So this is a PDF. You can't. It's not. This is in their archives. You have. Can you go to the most recent one for Capital One?
The most recent one. Yeah.
Yeah, their most recent one. Because then it'll have the blue clickable link. Yeah. It'll have the clickable links, and I want to show you. It'll say indenture agreement, and you're looking for the most recent dated one. Or if you can't find one that's like filed within the past couple years, sometimes it is a couple of years older, that indenture agreement. And you can also like go on the 8K, and you'll be able to see what which agreement that they're using. Like one time I went on for Discover, and it's like the securities were made pursuant to the indenture agreement signed in 2013, right? And then so you go back and you look. But once that gets pulled up, I'm going to show you. You're looking for an indenture agreement. And for Capital One, I wonder, let me see who their indenture trustee is. And then there's another method to
The actual trustee.
I found their indenture trustee. It's Bank of New York Mellon. But so yeah, towards the bottom, you'll see like it'll say indenture agreement between Capital One and Bank of New York Mellon as trustee. And then you click on that, because then you'll see the part in there that says discharged by renunciation. And then that's also where you find the representative. The same form where you find the name of the representative who signed over that account is that indenture agreement as well. So, oh wait, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for filings. Filings, 8K, 10K, Edgar search and access. Just waiting on that to get pulled up. Now, the other method, right? So, like as I said, only trust can deal with trust. So one thing that you're going to notice is that all of your notes get transferred to a trust. And the indenture agreement is between multi-asset execution trust, right? That is where they transfer all of their stuff. Actually, that might not be the proper name of it. But anyways, it goes from Capital One, the LLC, then it goes to Capital One, the depositor. Then it goes to Capital One multi-asset execution note trust. Now, there also might be a Capital One card trust, but I'm trying to see here. So generally, you'll be able to find it under a trust. So like Discover Trust, SP Global, if you click on that, it'll show you, it'll have a record of who their trustee is, their indenture trustee and everything like that. And it will also have a flow chart that you can see of how the note moves, which is great. So Capital One Financial Corp, that's their 8K current report. That's the indenture filings. They've changed.
They did. And it's also on a website. You can up under filings. They have to put it on there. And if you're looking for a company, you can just simply Google, let's just say it's Discover. You can put in Discover SEC filings 10K and it'll pop up. Some of them are very long. But then, I mean, if it's worth it, read it because that's where all the information is. So it's definitely there.
That is going to be where you're going to find that information. Maybe Capital One was. Let's practice.
Yeah, no, Capital One changed their form.
No, I'm about to do Discover because Discover is super easy. I got them.
Yeah, they changed their form.
So for Discover, right? Discover, their trust is Discover Card Execute. Trust, you can look that up. But Discover Card, right? You look at their 10K and 8K annual report. So I'm on, you guys can't see it, but I'm looking at the Discover Card Execution Note Trust, right? And again, Discover Funding LLC is the company who they do that to. But again, so on this form, you see under the exhibits, all of these different things. So right here, you see indenture agreement between Discover and U.S. Bank National Association, right? And I see one dated as of December 9th, 2020. And then, so I think that might be the latest indenture agreement that they signed. But yeah, it'll say directly on there, indenture agreement between this company, Discover Card Execution Note Trust as issuer, and then U.S. Bank National Association as trustee. So you always want to find the trustee, and then there will be a person whose name is signed over that account, and that's who you send it to whenever you hear us saying, send it to the trustee, just for everybody who doesn't know what that is.
And there's a website called last10k.com. Last10k.com. You'll find a lot of them there as well. So they're definitely there. And just take a little look at sometimes.
Yes, and on that website, you can search them by their company name and anything like that. Or if you know their their stock exchange symbol, how they're traded, you can also find them that way if you're having trouble, you know. That is how you do it. Send it to the trustee, get your remedy. Read the Trust Indenture Act of 1939 and understand why you're sending it to the trustee and what the duties of the trustee are. And when you're going and you're finding that indenture agreement, read the section under that's labeled discharge and renunciation. I would just do that. And that's all you got to do.
Yeah.
Not as complicated as everybody makes it seem. It's real simple. You use their words and you fill out simple forms. You know, nothing we're explaining has you making up your own things to do. You're simply using the tools that are given that they don't expect you to read. So I hope I hope it's been very informative, and I hope to see a lot more receipts coming after this class, because I want to see some people actually putting this information to use and not just sitting on it.
Huh? What other Wi-Fi I got? Which one you on? Frontier. It's Molly with up. Yep. Yeah. I got you. Hey, Bill.
Yes, that is discharge. That is why the remedy that you guys see that I posted came from one or all of the discharge processes that we have taught you guys tonight. I think it would be wise for you to take the information and go back over it, and then set you up a game plan and do it that way. So normally we would do a Q&A, but there's 500 plus people on this card. So what I normally get is if I don't pick you, you're going to come in my DM. So I had my ear number, you didn't answer my question, then you're going to give me some long rant that I'm going to erase. Okay? I don't like taking other people's energy. And no disrespect, but y'all be saying, I don't want your energy. Like, I don't want it. Due to the fact that you guys will get this replay and you have 14 days to be able to utilize this replay, but we will not do any questions and answers tonight because it's over 500 you on this call. I think that we have explained it. We have showed you guys how to do it. I've told you guys how to do it. And then we will provide you with the replay. You get 14 days access of the replay. And if there's any other questions that need to be done after you have watched the replay and tried to utilize it, then that is where you guys can set up a consult or something. So, please don't just run with this information, take it, read it, digest it, understand it, because all of these people who are getting the remedy, trust and believe, and they just didn't jump off of this car and immediately start doing some things. Okay, they didn't do that. They actually took the information and understood it first before they stepped out there. But the discharge rules that we have gave you is not a process that I've made up, not one that Kayla made up. These are their rules, their policies. We just know how to use them and understand them to make it work for us. And it has worked for countless others. And hopefully it'll work for the others. That's also 500 plus people on this call. And it'll work for you too. Because in order for us to create a change, it has to be enough of us to show these corporations that we are no longer playing with them. That time is up and things need to be done accordingly. But only you can stand on your own foundation, and that's just that.
And the level to which you get remedy is entirely going to reflect the level and the amount of time and study that you put into this. And that's always going to be how it works. Because there's going to be people within those 14 days are going to watch this video over 20 times. I've seen it. People will be like, it's been out for a day and I've already watched it 4 times. This is almost a 3-hour class. Some people, if you want it, you will get it done. 14-day access to the replay. And eventually on top of that, when the Path to Freedom website is available for all of those who might need help finding trustees and information like that, the class we did with the information on how to better find the trustee with the actual visual and the background will all be available. So we're not going to leave you guys hanging with no ability to, catch up on information you may have missed, right? Everything will be available. But study this. Take good notes. If one person in this class can get remedy, every person in this class can get remedy. And that's just how it is.
So just remember, get the CEO name out your head outside the fact of you doing the 1099, because of course you have to alert them. But your key to for remedy is through the trustee and the indentured trustee. If they are using your Cesta BK Trust of 1666, because only a trust can deal with a trust. Only a corporation can deal with a corporation. Why do you think they created the corporation? The corporation was created so that we can do business with them. Okay? They can't do business with the living man or the living woman. If they do, then that is where we're the boss and we're telling them what to do, which is ultimately what we're supposed to be doing. There ain't no money, ain't been no money, whether it's public, whether it's private, whether it's consumer, whether it's business. So handle them accordingly. They said stamp it. Stamp it. Act like you're a school teacher and stamp some papers and send it to the proper person. Make sure you send it registered mail. Those little details make a difference. It makes a big difference. And if you follow those, you'll be okay. Okay? Nephew, you can do your closing. You did a wonderful job. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. This was my first full teaching class, so I hope that, I did okay and, you guys have a little bit of patience with me. Sometimes I do stutter a bit. But again, all this information is ingrained, it's something that I have memorized to my core to be able to deliver, right? Because it's a lifestyle. It really is. It's not just a one and done. You see what I mean? Like, it's not for everybody. This is for people who are ready and willing to fight for their freedom. But it can work, and it's up to you to enforce it, because nobody else is going to be able to enforce this but you when it comes down to it, because I cannot be there with you when it counts. And if you think that I got the magic sauce, I've given you all the tools that I used to make the sauce. So now you got to make your own sauce. You just got to do it a little bit differently, right? We're all working with the same tools. I don't have nothing. It's not like I'm hiding something. It's not like I'm hiding a secret of I got the magic words to say when I get on the phone. It's this constant study. It took me, I've only really been doing this for about a year and a half. And it took me this long to get to this point. And if I didn't have a teacher as great as Pastor Freedom, my aunt, I would not even know as much as I do, because it takes someone to be able to guide you in the right direction and help you filter through the nonsense. And that's what we're hoping to do. And that's what we've done for you the same way it was done for me. And she always say, if I had a me, it wouldn't have taken me 10 years to get to this point. And that's such a true statement. But I just want to assure you that you are probably on the brink. If you are in this class, it's not for no reason. You are on the brink of understanding. You are on the brink of achieving what you want to achieve. It's up to you to take that final leap, though, because nobody else will do it for you. And with that being said, I hope y'all have a great night.
You guys have a wonderful night. You guys have a wonderful night. Give me up to 48 hours to get the replay sent out to you guys. You guys, as I said, will get 14-day access to it. Take the information and use it. And like he said, I'm giving you guys, I step myself into you guys' shoes. And if someone would have broken down to me in this manner 10 years ago, to get to where I'm at now, because it's definitely paying off. And our motto is we want to see everybody win. Okay, we want every last one of you guys to win, because if you're winning, that means our next generation that's up under us, which are our children, they're winning. And that's what the goal is getting the generational wealth. So if you've opened up your TDA account, don't do nothing crazy with it, because you're going to get a letter. And they're going to tell you that that account is frivolous and they're never going to open that account for you again. Okay, but in order for you to properly do what you need to do, you need to have that account open if you expect for them to deposit your dividends upon your instruction after you stamp it properly. Okay, and on that note, we'll see you guys. There'll be another class in 2 weeks. Of course, there is 3 more classes on this series. Before the series is over, yes, I will go over the court system. We'll go over how to get out of tickets, how to beat criminal charges, what to do in that magnitude there. And while you guys are in the process of gaining all of your securities back, we will show you how to protect it, because you have to protect it. It has to be protected through a particular trust account. We will also go over that before this is over with, so you guys will know how to properly set up your trust that does not pass the court test. You know, if you got a house and you put it in under the right trust, if it don't pass the court test, that means they can't take you to court, which means they can't foreclose on you, which is ultimately why a lot of these states are now non-judicial foreclosures, which are all illegal. We'll definitely have a mortgage class as well, because mortgage just a little bit more in depth on how you have to handle that. And you have to remember that you are a mortgage. You are literally listed in the Register of Deeds book. Your birth certificate is as a mortgage. Okay, so we'll definitely go over that as well. If you have not fixed your status in the system, get out of their jurisdiction, I'm going to feel really bad for you. It is the reason why they are bringing this FedNow system up. If you have not researched that FedNow system, you might want to research it. I believe I told my class last year there's going to be 3 classes of people. 3. Quarantine, restricted, and free. And if you in the quarantine system and this FedNow is now running, at any time they can stop your transactions. It's called punishment. You're only allowed to keep $1,000 in your account, and every 30 days it recycles itself. Then we consider the quarantine people, but they're only able to do the people what they allow. Get out of their system, fix your W-4 form, get the FOIA, get the FOIA to prove that you're not a citizen, and fix your records accordingly. So when these things take place that are about to take place, it won't affect you and your family. And on that note, you guys have a very wonderful night. I'll see y'all on social media, and I'll have the recording out to you guys. Like I said, you'll get 14-day access. That way you can stop it, pause it, take notes, and etc. Please don't run in my inbox immediately. Somebody, I can't find Ginger Girl Steve, because I'm going to ask you, did you look for it first? I know which ones are easy to find, and I know which ones are not. Maybe at some point I will release the book, but I don't have every trustee, but I got enough of them. But at some point, you have to understand how to research for yourself. because if they throw something at you, you want to be able to throw it back at them without having to stutter or, oh, I got to go look it up. You know, as y'all hear from our classes, we ain't reading off nothing. We know this because we constantly do this, and we're constantly reading this, and we're ingesting it, and we're digesting.
Come on.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
It's
I'm
over.
crazy.
It's over there, I think.
Yeah, I think it's over too. I think they be trying to close
I
out.
think it's over too. I think they be trying to close up.
All right, wait, let me stop the recording.